All right, we're live. Hello. Yeah, let me close this. God, I'm late for the stream. Let me announce. I'm going live. Here we go. Shit, what? Wow. Oh god, it's so hot. I'm unbuttoning my shirt. This is... I don't give a shit. Wow. Hey, eat. How are you doing?
Yeah?
Yeah, very nice.
Just give me 1 second. I can make it.
Sure.
Yeah, my back area is a mess.
And if I want to be like a spooky gamer, can do like this, you know?
Nice. Yeah, I'll probably shut my door here in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I can do all that too.
I think it's a little bit too much, the light out. Okay.
Yeah, and then we got the... Can do the pulsing light in the background.
We're gonna turn this into
dumb
an East German
checkmate.
nightclub. Let's
Nice.
go, boys.
Yeah, I
Oh,
get
well,
see, I
look who's
have
back.
I have
I
the
never
lights
left.
Because, you can't see it because of the
I was here
screen,
the whole time.
But,
Massive fucking balls,
that
bro.
is where
Wait,
I
what are you talking, Vibe?
There's actually a rather large model back there.
How are you doing?
So there is enough LEDs back there to turn my workstation into the surface of the sun when necessary to find any mistakes I do with the brush strokes and whatnot.
That sounds excessive. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I only turn them on when I actually am checking for defects. Otherwise, I only turn on one strip. Like, if you can see the switches in the back, I have 3 switches lined up on the walls.
Can we talk about
turn
ball
on
waxing?
varying degrees.
After the
Gotcha.
panel, let's say, okay?
I don't know. You mentioned Warhammer, so you know painting is very light intensive when you're doing OSL and all that shit.
I would say
there's definitely a level where it gets pretty intensive, and I was kind of wondering if
Okay,
Warhammer
look.
was part of the paint.
I would never wax my balls. My
40K, I have.
Okay, these guys are talking about
Grey
nerd
Knights
shit.
and an Orc army and a Custodes army, and then fantasy. I'm building up. Crap.
Wait, doesn't this...
skinks?
What the fuck?
Specifically skinks,
Discord
not
volume?
just full on Sauron.
There it is.
Okay, yeah. It's really weird talking about fantasy.
Okay,
anymore,
yeah.
They literally
No. Look, my ball hair, my ball decoration is God's gift upon this earth. I'm never getting rid of it. Okay.
I think he's talking to his own chat.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure he knew, just in case.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to defend having hairy balls. Okay, it's really important. Hello.
High quality content straight from the start.
Yeah. More power to you. Personally, after living in Africa for a time, I go with the shaved because it's just so much cooler.
Wait, really? You okay?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
All
dude.
right, let's go.
Well, dude, it was there. I learned it from the people I was living with. They do it over there for pests to prevent lice and shit like that from infecting the pubic region. I just picked it up over there, so it was just like. And after I got home, it was like I never wanted to go back because then it was hot and scratchy.
Damn.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's literally all it was hygiene over there, and then comfort when I got back of not wanting to switch back and go through the itchy stage.
I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
Wait. Yeah. Sorry. I want to know the logistics. Okay. So like, what's the best way to shave your balls? I need to know.
Like honestly, I use a Gillette fucking Mach 3 in the shower. It takes 3 minutes. It's not fucking difficult unless you got some really fucked up testicles.
Mm.
I mean, they're kind of global. It makes it real easy, smooth surfaces. It's not hard.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, I'll maybe I'll need to interview you after this panel. Okay.
I had a friend try to do it with one of those manscaper things.
Yeah.
He regretted it. He bled.
Yeah, I could see I could see bad accidents happening. You know.
Well, yeah, don't put any kind of mechanical device near skin that has a lot of elasticity. It likes to get sucked into the mechanism.
Okay, for some reason it takes a while for my camera to load, but let's go into the topic at hand. Instead of balls shaving and that kind of stuff. So
love it, you know it, chinchilla.
Yeah. So I don't know what's up with my cam. It froze. I reset it, and now it's just.
Yeah, now we're looking at GoPro.
Yeah, GoPro. Yeah, nice. But anyways, guys, welcome for joining the Lib Praxis podcast. I really appreciate for our guests coming on, and so that's in the top right we got Jack Kander. So Jack, thank you for coming on. And we have also in the bottom right we have Tiberius D. So thank you for coming on as well. And then we have our panelists that come on every week. It's Oyoyo and Elysium. So thank you guys for joining as well. That being said, the topic at hand is the filibuster anti-progressive. And that also kind of implies, like, would you want to get rid of the filibuster and all that jazz? So I'm gonna get quick, like, small opening statements for those for everybody. So let's start off with Elysium.
Okay. The question is the filibuster protecting centrist views and anti-progressive, just like reeks of a progressive persecution complex combined with a progressive majority complex, which I thought was really funny. Though, that being said, the filibuster is an aberration and we should probably get rid of it.
Okay, and then next up, Tiberius.
Yeah, sure. So, my general thoughts on the filibuster are, number one, is it anti-progressive? In a large degree, yes. It is built to basically force compromise to the degree, instead of needing a 51% majority when it comes to the Senate, you need a 60% majority. That, for most people, is going to be anti-progressive because progressivism is largely, if it's not fringe, it's always trying to make its way into the mainstream. And of course, once this generation's progressivism becomes more normalized, if you want to put it in that regard, the next generation completely outclasses that. So you can always talk about the progressives around 1900 as an example, and they are, mittens compared to what we deal with today. Do I want it to go away? There's a level where I understand what it's supposed to do, and if it did what it was supposed to do, I would be fine with the filibuster. Me being a dirty, evil, centrist-leaning person as I am. But the reality is I don't really think it does that, because that it requires a level of a willingness to compromise. And where we are right now, and even if you were talking about the Americans just as a whole, we don't really compromise ever. What usually happens is somebody builds a coalition that gets 60 to 65% of the population behind them, and they literally rule the country for 30 to 50 years. that's kind of actually the norm for us. So the filibuster just kind of makes it to where if you are in a time like where we are now, whether you are Republican or Democrat, if you're pulling 51% majorities, you don't get anything of what you want. So is that a good thing? I'm kind of 50-50 on that. Do I want it? But overall, in general, is that I don't think that where we are right now, where the filibuster is holding up a lot of things, is a flaw within the system as much as it is a normalism with where we are now in regards to that we're not actually in an American norm. We are in a period of abnormalcy for the Americans. And so I'll end with that.
Okay, then next up, it's Oyoyo.
Sure. Rather than talking about whether the filibuster is progressive or not, I'd rather simply describe it as something that stops change or makes change harder. If say we had a super progressive set of laws and there was a 52% conservative majority, then it would be blocking conservative policies. The whether it's progressive or conservative just depends on the political climate. The role it has and the role it's supposed to have, at least in present day politics, is one of making change harder, of forcing compromise. If we're going to describe it in the best way possible, it forces compromise between the two parties. It means you have to negotiate policies that you want to get through. You can't just shove everything down the legislative chambers because you have a slight majority. That being said, personally, I think that the U.S. has a lot of those systems in place that are supposed to compensate for, or rather prevent, a tyranny of the majority. So what some people describe, I myself have found myself describing it that way sometimes. Sometimes it feels like it's actually a tyranny of the minority. There's so many of those systems in place that whether it's the electoral college, the way gerrymandering works out, the filibuster, the Senate, the structure of the Senate itself, the seats being given to states, not by population. Some of those things I think are good. Some of those things I think are bad. And the filibuster, I don't think it's necessary. I really don't think. A lot of other functional democracies don't require over 51% just to pass normal policy. They do require it for constitutional changes, for big sweeping changes, and that's normal. That's great. But for normal policy, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, and then Chad.
Okay, well, Tiberius and Elysium kind of stole my thunder on two of my points. But no, my primary issue with the filibuster is, Oyo got it nail on the head. It's not that it's anti-progressive, it is anti-change. And it very much is a protection of the minority against the tyranny of the majority. That being said, it is a concept that the framers never could have thought of in the way that we use it today. And the versions they did think of, when we track back to Madisonian theory on the subject, is actually antithesis to what the framers wanted. This is absolutely against what they designed the Senate to do. So for that in and of itself, even if I'm not an originalist, which I'm not, I can't see anybody on the left or right wanting the filibuster to continue. Here's my issue: the power vacuum that would result in us removing it. What comes in after that could be better. It could be worse. That's the only reason I think it needs to remain, is that we need to wean off of it, not just remove it.
Okay, and now the floor is open for anybody that wants to go.
Sure, I'm going to jump in on this. I don't think the filibuster is just something that we go back and forth. There's we think is bad or something. I think it is an aberration. It is very negative. The idea of having a supermajority for legislation in general is insane to me. And this is a supermajority of the state representative, not even a supermajority of the population. Something clearly not even just never intended, but expressly intended against, that we've ended up with.
Yeah, and it came as a direct result of the Civil War. I mean, it was directly in relation to that. It is where the back channel rules were put into place, and it wasn't abused for years. It wasn't abused till the early 1900s with Calhoun. But at that point, it was still being used very, very rarely. And at that point, nobody understood the true danger except for a isolated minority.
like I don't like I don't like any of that framing. I think everyone understood it. It just wasn't used. I don't think it came like out of the Civil War. It like I don't think any of this was intentional. But never mind. There's none that really matters.
Oh no, it really was intentional. It just was not intended to be used the way it was. It was meant as a promise to the minority that they would not be oppressed like in the old world. That's all it was meant to be, and that became later what we see it to be today.
Sure.
So something I've seen people propose. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't feel like it really matters. But I've seen a lot of people propose that you should reform the filibuster in order to make it so like people actually have to sit there and talk the whole time they're filibustering.
Like Calhounian filibuster, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like go back to that, the historical filibuster. Would that actually fix the problem? Or like would people just chug a bunch of energy drinks and sit there and talk and talk?
In my opinion, it would, because one of the aspects of the talking filibuster is this lovely little thing called the previous question rule. And the previous question rule will not allow just monotonous, tedious speech. You actually have to be debating the subject. And if it becomes circular, or if you stop being able to provide new evidence or new arguments against the counter arguments against you, a previous question rule can be invoked, and then a vote can be called to bring a close to debate, which is something that is not possible right now because getting closer again still requires that supermajority.
Shit, can we put that in place for Twitch debates when they start like looping around? you just kick people out.
I would love that. In fact, if you know Ical Rich, he and I have actually been talking about bringing some Frederick Douglass style or Lincoln Douglas style debate to Twitch, and actually bringing some of the more highbrow rules just every once in a while to Twitch on some of these more controversial subjects.
Good luck, gentlemen. Good luck.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm probably the most right-wing person on this one, so like I'm not going to openly be like, oh, I love the filibuster, we have to keep it. Number one, I think a lot of Republicans fearmonger that without things that safeguard against the tyranny of the majority, that they would just be shit out of luck. And I absolutely reject that. In fact, I think a few of those mindsets actually keep the Republican Party from realizing they're actually the majority party right now. And so when it comes to that kind of thing, I don't think it really stops progress, but I definitely do think it definitely stops change. And the question that I think to have to ask is that actually a good thing? Because obviously right now, or at least for the better part of the last 20 years, a lot of Republicans will take up the mantlet and say the filibuster is a good thing, and the Democrats will say it's a bad thing. But let's just theory game this, because if I'm right, the Democrats are actually now the minority party. And what happens if the Republicans realize that the Democratic coalition fractures, and now it's the Democrats that need these rules to keep what they want in place, or at least operating? Does that change anyone's mind at all here?
No, it leaves the same fear in my mind of getting rid of it, the vacuum. How do we get rid of it without creating that vacuum? And I think the only way we can do that is the same way off any harmful substance is through titration, weaning ourselves off of it. And now how we do that, no fucking clue. I'm not a political scientist. I actually had to get a couple of books to reread about the filibuster, because the last person I argued about this was with my father, and Bush 1 was president at the time. So I was a little out of date on the subject.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're looking pretty young if that's what you were doing, because I expected you were about my age.
I was born in '69.
Oh my God! All right, cool.
Yes.
Fountain of Youth
if you see that picture frame, that's my 3 kids. The youngest is now 27.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's something. All right, fair enough. Anyway, so the issue that I have with the filibuster is, all right, cool. Toss it out, right? In theory, and in general, like political theory, is that you basically made the general threshold for passing law go from 60% down to 51%. Out of hand, that doesn't really bother me too much. I'm actually very in favor of the fact that, look, if you did the work to where you got the 51% coalition, you've got the mandate to rule. So that one doesn't bother me too much. The question is, like, what's the worst case scenario that goes into effect when you have a 51% majority that a 60% majority, would be the key to stopping? I think like the biggest doomsday scenario maybe was that if Roe was actually a codified law and then it actually had been removed by another law, like, is that something that people would change their mind on or not? It's just one of those deals where I see the use of it. It's just the practicality kind of seems to have melted away at this point because it's more of a political weapon than it is any kind of force of compromise, if that makes
Yeah,
any
it's
sense.
become obstructionist as opposed to any kind of procedural use.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, that's something I wanted to bring up because Oyoyo, you mentioned that like having this super, and we're getting it, having like the super majority requirement is supposed to like inspire compromise more.
Mhm.
But like if that's our goal with this, I think it's like abjectly failed, right? So we see all of the things that we would want to inspire compromise around, we've made rules to not have to compromise on. And all this has really done now is push legislation, all like normal legislation, to being super hard and then piling everything up every time there's a budget. So like every year there's like a big milestone of like, here, what can we fit into the budget reconciliation bill? And then that's like the only legislation that is easy that year.
So rude.
Yeah. That is that is a problem, and it kind of joins what Jack and Adder was saying, right? It's like something that happens in like really corrupt governments too, where if everything's blocked, you can't change anything. You got or not corrupt, like authoritarian governments. Everything's like stuck, and you can't change things. So people just figure out ways to do things without having to jump through the official hoops. So like corrupt officials, etc., etc. So like it feels like in the U.S. system, people have figured out their like specific ways of actually creating policy. So like you say, the budget, like Supreme Court stacking games, or well, not stacking, but you know what I mean, like jousting for Supreme Court seats, all those things that weren't really supposed to function as creating policy, but they like are just workarounds for this huge block that is the Senate. That's not a good thing.
Personally,
I don't think...
I'd be more in support of abolishing the Senate as a whole and getting rid of the filibuster outright. Just getting rid of it without a plan to deal with the aftermath.
Whoa.
Because honestly, the Senate is not a representative democracy. They
it absolutely is. It absolutely okay. Representative doesn't mean majority. It is still representing something. It's representing states. So to say like definitionally this isn't a representative democracy is just factually incorrect.
And what is the state interest against the population if the population is majority in favor of something?
Because states have their own interest, right? Like things are designed as a balance between state power and federal power. States have their own specific interests that should absolutely be considered in government.
Yeah, we fought a civil war over that. I still don't.
No, we fought a civil war over succession.
I still don't hold their state rights fucking bullshit as a viable argument for a vast majority of the things it's used for today.
Wait, can I bring in some like Eurocuck reasoning in here? Because like a lot of lefties love to suck off European constitutions and shit. French constitution, the Senate has exactly the same structuring. It's like the departments that vote in people, no matter how they get like one seat each, no matter what the population, and it's exactly that. It's a counterbalance to the tyranny of the majority, where it's just like geographic representation rather than demographic representation. And it worked. It's something that can absolutely work, but like by itself. I actually had. I'm a lefty. I don't want to abolish the Senate. I think it's a good idea. Maybe there's a better system out there, but it's not a bad system in and of itself.
No, and when I said that, I was more meaning that as to point out of why I don't just want to remove the filibuster without a plan. It'd be the same level of clusterfuckery.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Think about it. I wasn't meaning that as, I hate the Senate entirely, blah, 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 blah. But if we're going to break this down, I'd rather get rid of the Senate entirely than just the filibuster without a plan to do it.
How does that make any sense? you're saying you'd rather just have the House, which operates under majority rule, than have a House and a Senate under majority
Well,
rule.
I'm more
because-
Madisonian in my political philosophy as far as America is concerned. So yeah, I'd perfectly be okay with that.
Okay, but your rationale is saying like we can't do that without a plan for the Senate, post
I said,
filibuster.
no, I'm
Senate.
saying
But
I
then
would
your
rather
plan-
have the Senate gone than the filibuster gone without a plan for the Senate to deal with it.
Okay, can you like so it sound
Because
rephrase
then
this
we
when
have
you-
because then the representative of the people would actually be the ones deciding on how to deal with the aftermath, as opposed to a Senate trying to deal with it when that is the state. And we have proven time and time again the Senate fights against the people, even when the people are absolutely 100% in the majority.
All
We're
right,
talking massive
Okay.
supermajorities
Yeah,
of
yeah.
70 to
So-
8 to 80%.
that's fine. But okay, so you're. I feel like this is a very hard presentation to understand because first it sounded like you're saying like when you say we don't have a plan for the Senate post filibuster, it sounds like you're saying like things will be too chaotic is what I'm hearing.
It will
And
be,
then-
and I would rather that chaos be handled by the representatives.
Okay,
of the
so it
people
doesn't-
than the
so- yeah, so-
representatives
so
of the
I-
state.
Okay, that's fine.
That's
So
not
what
a
you're
hard
really-
concept.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I'm just gonna clarify. So I understand what you're saying there. You don't really care about the chaos. You care about that it gets handled by the people and not by a state representative system. So really, you just don't
That
want a
has
Senate at
proven
all.
that it fights. No, that has proven to fight against the people that have predominantly wanted
but-
progressive changes
Okay.
that they have fought
All right, well,
against.
one,
And then
that's just not
representing
true.
less than 11% of the U.S. population at a time when pushing those conservative agendas.
Okay,
I don't know which specific
I wanna-
example you're talking
sorry,
about.
I wanna let Various in because he tried to get in earlier. So
Yeah,
Various, go ahead.
I really appreciate that, Chinchilla. Like, not that your guys' conversation isn't riveting, but I do have some points of my own here that I want to make real quick. Number one, the states' rights conversation is always a fun one because I do believe in like the concept of states' rights, but I got a problem with it. The states are fucked up, and it's not in the general sense that I'll put it this way: like I don't think there should be states, but if you kind of look at the history of the United States and how the states have been formed, is that the eastern states are largely incredibly small, incredibly ridiculous in their proportionality and what they do because they are all former colonial settlements. So you get something stupidly large like Virginia and then something stupidly small like Rhode Island. That's a problem.
Hey, I was born in Rhode Island. You don't get to talk shit about it.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm going to talk shit about Rhode Island because in the New England Five, right? This is New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Is that you're talking about a state that's smaller than Indiana, has a decent sizable population, but has 10 fucking senators. That doesn't work out very well, especially when you consider that California has 2 and Texas has 2. Now, I'm not saying like a certain population or certain land size needs senators. What I'm going for is that we have on the eastern states, these states that are incredibly small, not really logically thought out as far as how they're devised. And then when you get further west, you have the inverse problem to where those states were built way too big because of the battle for slavery. And we've never gone back and re-examined that. What is the state supposed to do? In my general my political theory is that the states are there first and foremost for mineral and water rights, and we never built anything around that. I'm dead serious. Because if you're going to have an institution that is not representative of the people's will, but still represents a right or a privilege that is based upon the land itself that it is, it's literally what comes from that land. Are you an agricultural state? Do you need water? Do you have to regulate these resources in a particular way? That's what the states should do. And you can't do that when you've got East and West Texas, which should be 2 different states, North and South California, which should be 2 different states, and then you've got a number of states in the plains and particularly in the Northeast that really should be blended all together because there's no discernible differences between one to the next.
Okay, this is gonna get so weird because we're begging questions when you're saying like the state should be split and stuff. Like, what is the purpose of a state here? Like saying like these states weren't planned out with intentionality and stuff. Yeah, they weren't. No one knew what was further west. No one sat down and was like, hey, we want all of these people to live in this state and stuff. Yeah, it wasn't that isn't a system that has ever existed. So I don't know why we would expect the states to reflect that. And like the composition and beliefs and political opinions of the populace within any state changes over time. It's like the idea that right now it might be convenient to split Texas based off of political leanings into 2 states or something, even if there was a really clean line, that's not going to hold into the future. Every time you have a split in your population politically, are you just going to make a new state?
No. So that's actually the key difference I wanted to put here is that I was not advocating for the splitting of Texas based on a political leaning. I'm basing it off of a geographic leaning, and I'll divide, or I'll even give you that for the California as well. East and West Texas are 2 different climatological zones. When you get basically anything west of I-35, you're in the semi-arid areas that has incredibly hard issues when it comes to regulating water, how to distribute water, how to maintain your water systems. In East Texas, it rains 3 times as much as it does in West Texas. Doesn't have that problem. And you also have a massive growing population base in the Texas Triangle as a result of that. That's a huge deal. You're literally talking about 2 geographic major differences, and Northern California has the same thing. Los Angeles.
Why should that be what defines a state?
Okay, because if you don't have that, and I'm not saying this has to be the criteria, but it's what I'm forwarding as my criteria, is that what else do you have besides the population will? And at that case, you just need a House for that. You don't need the Senate. So what's purpose, separate from the personal will of that population, do you make a state? So I gave you one. It's geographical concerns, climatological, mineral rights, water rights, those things, because they're indicative to the land that you're on.
I don't think the majority of society is derived from the land that they're living on. I think if anything,
no,
over
we're
time,
saying it should be, not that it is.
Actually, I'm going
why should it be? Why should it be? Why does the land that I live on influence the policies and culture and environment that I want to live in?
Because it influences literally everything that you do. If you are in a place that has coal as a resource but not grain, you're going to be a coal mining society unless it doesn't work.
Okay.
It's literally goes down to basic economics. Economics is an extension of geography and demography. When you
and none of these are in conflict. We have local governments. The state doesn't have to make policies that go across its entire state. It can make regional policies.
Yes, it can. But at that point, if you're saying, hey, look, we can make a regional policy, the states are effectively in the United States subdivided regions. Why do we have those subdivided regions except for just lines in the sand at that point if we're just saying, hey, we should leave it up to the people within them?
Like I have to agree with Tiberius here. Like the state lines are completely historically arbitrary at this point, and it makes sense. Like that's most of the things in the world. We inherit history.
What's wrong with that? That's not okay. Go.
And because he is proposing a system that is a bit more logical. It would get into the nitty and gritty, right? If once you like are explicitly drawing the lines, a lot of people want to politicize it, like gerrymander, literally the state lines. It would be hard. I don't know if in the present political climate, which you're describing, would be at all feasible without really imperiling like the U.S. democracy, just because of the threat of gerrymandering those state lines. But I actually like the idea. It makes sense. It makes sense to that people's concerns are specific to the kind of life they're living, and like Tiberius said, that's climate, that's the type of geography that's around them, that's the type of industry that's around them, all those things.
I can actually fast forward that conversation for you a little bit. It used to be No Name Man. I guess you
I renamed.
Yeah, no problem. So the fast forwarding on this is that can it be politically charged? Yes. In any way that you do it, at any time you do it, it's probably going to be at least some level politically charged, and I think we all can accept that as a reality. I would say that if there is any time we need to do it, it's actually probably around now, because the political system that the United States has is in a massive transition. I think anyone can agree that the Republican Party of 10 years ago versus the Republican Party now isn't really the same party. And
Unrecognizable.
I'm going to say that the Democrats are following suit in a pretty short order. So for me, I think in this time of change is now the best time to do it, because not only can we have a conversation about what does the parties end up having to be in this, what we would call the 7-party system, but also we can say, hey, look, if we're going to do a fundamental overhaul where we reset the board, no better time than when the political system itself is resetting. I know that's dangerous in its own way, but it's also transitory.
I don't see any great political upheaval happening. I'm sorry, on either side.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm having a slight aneurysm out of that. The fact that I've seen big business leave the Republican Party, and I'm largely watching unions walk into the Republican Party in the last 5 years, is blowing my mind.
These aren't changes that happened over the last 5 years. They're changes that happened over the past 2 decades.
They are changes that happened over the last 3 and have rapidly escalated in the last 5 years, particularly under this asshole named Trump.
Rapidly escalated in the last 5 years. Rapidly escalated. We're talking orders of magnitude difference of transition. It was no longer a trickle. It was floodgates were opened and the transition moved.
Yeah, okay, but you're just looking at Trump. And now just okay,
No,
give it
not
give
just
it
Trump. Look at the states as well.
I can actually give you a
Never mind.
map of I'll put it this way. You can look at a map of the election on county level between 2004 and 2020. Has it been slow? Yes. But if you look at the actual breakaway, it's about 2012 is where we started seeing the break where if you were a rural county, you started leaning Republican. And if you were if you were a city, you started leaning Democrat. That blew wide open in 2016 for probably very obvious reasons, is that the Republican Party is now catering to the deindustrialized rural parts of the country, and it is striking up a chord with them, whether you like it or not. And the Democrats are largely appealing to values that come with a high affinity towards urban living.
Yeah, but that's been a general trend for multiple decades. Isn't it? It's fine. This doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure.
I can agree with you. I can agree with you.
Yeah,
I can agree with you.
like at the end of the day, the point was that there's like changes in the parties, which kind of like going back to the like closer to the original subject, the filibuster and stuff. There was something I wanted to say earlier. I do feel like also removing the filibuster, making it easier for say more popular policies to get through, which is something like Jack Natter was complaining about. You know, you got certain things that are polling at 70-80% across the country and that are impossible to get through as policies. I feel like that would actually have probably a positive effect when it comes to the political climate, because it would force, in my opinion, it would force the Republican Party to review a lot of its policy positions, where it can no longer like curate this core 30 to 40% of the population and like have them be fanatically supporting it on really divisive issues. And it would have to actually, you know, maybe compromise on healthcare, compromise on like several really, really popular things. I think it could actually bring about really good changes where the Republican Party would be a lot more reasonable on social issues, and then the Democrat Party would be a lot more reasonable on like their extreme version of social issues, like would pull everyone towards the center, perhaps.
I mean, that's what the filibuster's supposed to do, but if anything, right now it seems to be the exact opposite reaction. Yeah. And that's kind of why I opened up with my intro.
Well, that's because we removed Rule 22.
I can't.
No, that was super ironic with that. Like, I don't think the solution to the filibuster is make everything like harder again to get stuff done. We added rules on top of that because having people sit there and stop any progress in the Senate was catastrophic and nothing got done. People actually just sat there and took months out of our Senate system to stop bills from going through. And I don't know why we'd want to go back to that.
That's what's happening now. We're getting a little bit of change now under Biden, but that's what's been happening for years under the filibuster. It's been pushing things back into back alley horse trading as opposed to actual civil debate and compromise on the floor.
So forcing people to be on the floor to talk, I don't think is actually going to promote civil debate and compromise. It's just going to make, instead of right now, we just say, okay, we're going to filibuster that and the Senate moves on. So the Senate still spends its time doing other things instead of spending its time waiting for someone sitting grandstanding on the floor. I would prefer that, if that makes sense.
The point of the filibuster is not actually to grandstand. It is to get the minority point across and try and change minds. It is meant to be about debate. Just because that's not how it's been used in the last 20 years does not mean that that's not what it was meant to be. And honestly, this is kind of smacking of the fact that you don't remember a time before the obstructionist filibuster. I don't either, to be honest with you. It's been the 1950s was the last one that was the last non-obstructionist filibuster. But
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking.
I don't think
That's
you can
not
go
how
back
it was
on that.
intended.
I don't think you can. Well, one, I don't even think it was intended, and I don't think you can go back to a norm like that. I don't think there's any path back to a minority can block any bill they want, but they're going to use it responsibly. I don't think this exists anymore.
That
Well,
was the
look,
thing. It wasn't a block before we removed Rule 22.
what I wanted to
It-
mention,
what?
we touched on something earlier on, right? Like saying that it needs to be actually about the subject matter. That could be one way of like improving the filibuster.
But it was that, and we made rules around that. We made a whole 2-track system so that so that the Senate can progress and do other things besides just have someone sit there and debate about something, because no one cares about the actual debate, right? Okay, here be. Can you give an example of a time the filibuster was used to promote compromise in the Senate over the past 100 years because of that debate happening?
Civil rights.
Do you think
You
any of
asked
these
for one.
civil... Yeah.
1964
I know, I'll
civil rights
clarify.
filibuster.
So do you think that civil rights bill came to compromise because of any of debate happening on the floor of the Senate, or just because nothing else was allowed to progress? And if anything, okay, answer that first. Yeah.
Well, going based on the fact that we actually have historical records, newspapers, video reports of that time, I'd say yeah.
I would characterize any of these times where the filibuster is happening as grandstanding, not actual debate to progress compromise.
Not in a very long time, yes. That's why we're wanting to go back to including things like the previous question rule and Rule
Even
22
with the
to
previous
prevent the
question rule.
grandstanding, to prevent the obsequious, I pass 5 minutes to my colleague, and then they speak about nonsense for 5 minutes, and then they come back, and the initial person speaks for a couple of more seconds, and then I now pass 2 minutes of my time to blank. Now it's grandstanding. Now it is literally perfunctory obstruction, whereas in the past it had to actually be debate with counterpoints and fucking arguments against from the other senators.
To be fair, I think I think that regardless of the rules, you are relying at least a little bit on people's goodwill or like arguing in good faith, because I could see I could see it being very hard to actually control the there's no it's very hard to set up an objective judgment of, okay, now this person is like grandstanding and talking bullshit. As long as they have some kind of plausible deniability, they're making some kind of point, then
well, that's where the previous question rule comes in, because then the Senate votes on whether or not to bring it close to the debate. It then becomes a vote within the Senate to if to continue debate or close the debate. That's why I'm saying go back to those rules.
Okay, and that vote would be what, like broken up by majority?
Simple majority.
Simple majority. Okay. Yeah, that's not that. Well,
this hasn't existed. I don't know what you're
yes,
referring
this was
to.
this was the original version of the filibuster before we removed Rule 22. This was before the Calhounian the divide where we removed the talking filibuster. Yes,
I'm getting some drinks.
Elysium?
I guess I'm not familiar with this era of the Senate where the filibuster, everyone sat there and debated and came to, a compromise on bills.
Oh no, they wouldn't always compromise. In fact, more often than not, that report was then sent out to the people through the reports of the Senate progress and minutes and whatnot. So the people then got to hear that their representative government was being heard. Their voice was being heard in the Senate. They actually got to see the counter arguments against. Whereas
But
now
you can watch C-SPAN anytime you want.
Yeah, and you know what it is? It's what I just described, the performative obstruction of, I passed 3 minutes to this,
And
I
it
passed
was-
4 minutes to
and it
that, and
was
it's
that
no
way-
actual debate.
It
There's
was that
no
way in the
actual
civil rights
counterpoint.
era too. In civil rights, these things were used to delay these bills, not to make compromise on them and to
God,
cancel.
it feels
some of
like
them.
Chow is here.
It's fine. I guess
I'm
I
feeling
did
nostalgic.
Compromise
characterization.
eventually through it. That's the thing. Through vast amounts of fighting through these, the minority voice being heard for decades, because the Civil Rights Bill would have passed 20
But that
years earlier
compromise
if it was
wasn't
not
due
for the
to-
filibuster.
Yeah, okay, I agree. But that compromise wasn't due to debate happening on the Senate floor, which didn't happen. That compromise was due to not having the votes to be able to undo a filibuster, right? So the filibuster is just like the grandstanding time, taking things up until you can get those votes to get over it, right? And so you've got to compromise your legislation to get enough people to agree with it to get those votes. It's not actually about any debate that's happening on the Senate floor. That's just time being wasted, delaying, right? It doesn't matter. Okay.
So yeah, I have more like a general question, like because we talk about like how the filibuster is like mismanaged or misused, uh, and it's getting worse over the decades, right?
Yeah.
Considering with like that nowadays you have like social media, people and all the media is way more on top of those people that are being elected, and being bipartisan seems to be like some sort of like almost like a death wish, because that makes you look like a traitor or something, you know, uh, for that party. And I think those people are getting more and more like scrutinized. Um, so is it not just altogether just outdated because of the fact that you cannot be that bipartisan anymore? Tiberius, what do you think about this?
Okay, so out of the gate, I'm gonna agree with you like 90% and just be like, the problem that I have overall right now is that whether the filibuster's there or not, is that the political ethics, if you want to put it in that regard, is that if you're the opposing party, the answer is go fuck yourself. And that's not any way to run a republic or democracy, what have you. But even if we had the filibuster or we didn't, is that wouldn't change much of anything for me, because I don't think we're going to see a compromise in this particular era. Now, again, I don't think that's an anomaly within the system. I think that's the anomaly within our history. The question that we kind of have to go forward with is this literally like that rough that left 20 years that we have to go through every now and again where we reboot the system, or is it one of these deals to where we're going to see politics kind of have to return to civility? One of the things that I'm looking at just as a future casting kind of thing is that the Republican extreme wing, if you want to call them the Trumplicans, are winning in their primary elections. They brought out Liz Cheney and a few other folks. But if you look at them in general elections, they are now on track to lose critical swing states, particularly in the Senate. And that's with a bad economy. That's with, the big victory of having Roe overturned. So if this is what happens when the fringe right is getting into power and they get what they want and they're losing elections, that means that the Republicans are going to look after 22, if this is actually what happens, and they're going to have to come to the table and say, oh crap, we actually do have to be more moderate. Even in a victory, we cannot be hard right. And I'm kind of hoping for this as a more like moderate person in general, is that I hate the Trumplicans. I think they have dishonored that party in so many different ways. It's ridiculous. And I don't like extremists, and I'm seeing the era of extremism overall. And I'll simply say, just in my own bias, I kind of want another 50-50 split. I kind of want to watch the Republicans think they're going into this thinking that they're going to, pull 300 seats in the House and 55 Senate seats, and then find out it's down to the wire again. Because if that actually can communicate to something where it's like, oh crap, we're actually getting too far out of the zone, maybe we can bring people back to reality. But I don't know. Americans have been really impressing me lately and how fucking stupid they can make this shit go. So anyway, I apologize for my rant. Thank you.
Chinchilla, yeah, I think what you're describing has more to do with partisanship, like Tiberius was saying, than any like system level thing.
Well, why do we see that it's getting worse? It's probably because of the fact that people feel that they need to be more partisan because they feel the pressure from the media, right? So I can understand that like with Trump, it's like extremism overall took like more of like a third within the Republican Party. But I think that there is something there to say like, well, these people are way more on the spot than they used to be.
Yeah. Okay. So I think there's I would describe two main things driving this. One, I think we had a political party commit to like a more partisan rhetoric for many years, and that helped push us into a partisan area. But then that's just like a knock-on effect of, I think the partisanship is reflecting actual divides within the electorate that are coming down to like some pretty hard knocking places where sides don't want to compromise.
Well,
Abortion has been an issue.
It's a bit of a chicken and egg effect, right? Those are very divisive questions, but also the parties and the biased medias on both sides have been really milking those divides as well, and fueling the fire. I don't know if we can attribute the cause to. Yeah, outright creating them at times. I don't think we can point necessarily at one single thing and be like, oh, that's the cause of the partisanship.
Sure. But this growth in partisanship then gets reflected in you don't have these bipartisan votes, and you don't have this person is going to get shit on by other people in their party because they voted with the other party and stuff. So that has all increased, but I don't think you deal with that by changing the system anyway. You have to deal with that by getting out of the partisan era. And I think that's kind of what Tiberius was describing is while both parties have viable partisan paths to success, you're going to have a partisan fight. And until that changes, go.
I was just gonna say I agree. It brings me back to what I was referring to Jack Natter earlier. If no matter what system, what institutions, what rules you put in place with the best of intentions, if the politicians working within those institutions are bad faith actors, they will find ways to act badly or to act in more partisan ways or galvanize the demographics and all that stuff. What we need is a change in the actual political culture and climate to see more reaching across the aisle to build policies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reminded of the wonderful, I can't even say it even in fucking joke, era of the Tea Party, when we had 30, 40-year staunch moderate Republicans get ousted by dentists and chiropractors because the chiropractors were saying the fucking outlandish fucked up shit on TV.
Yeah, fuck dentists.
But I mean, no, seriously, I forget the senator's name, but there was a senator from Utah. He had been their senator for 30 years. He got ousted by a dentist, but he lost. He had 28% of the vote. He lost by a landslide, and this guy had been universally elected for decades. And this guy just came out of nowhere, a dentist with no political acumen, no education on the subject, because what was he going to do? He was going to stop the abortions.
Let me...
That was his whole running platform, a single point.
Let me split hairs a little bit here, because I totally get where you're going with this. 2012 was really hard, more 2010 was really hard to swallow for a lot of Republicans, because it's all of a sudden, what's happening to our party? There's an issue here. I, looking back on this, think that the Republican Party that was ran by Wall Street had some serious credentials, particularly that you had basically the business cadre and to some degree the military basically ran and organized everything within the party, and they got 90% of what they ever wanted. Fine. Here's the problem. The people who kept voting for them, the average Joes who were hey, I care about abortion, and I'd like it, maybe a little bit of something here and there, every now and again, just in case something bad happens, they never got anything that they wanted. And they kept voting for the Republicans time and time again. And where Democrats kept saying, hey, why don't you vote for us? We actually have your economic interest at heart. They may have been right, but the reality was straightforward and simple. They were never going to ethically agree with the Democrats on the core issues, because there are core issues and core moral divides, which I'll happily second, that our good friend Elysium brought up. When it came down to it, they're no, we want a new party. And the Tea Party was the first wave of that, and then it was brought full circle with Trump. We do see a different Republican Party because the voter base, who has a different interest than the leaders of that party, openly threw a revolt. Mm-hmm. And they have taken over the party. Problem with this, and I will 100% say this as a person who leans Republican, while the issues are now front and center for the Republican Party, And we're actually seeing even them back off on the economic doctrine to where it's like, hey, we'll do tariffs now. What? $2,000 stimulus? We'll fucking do that too. Let's go. Old Republicans would have never gone for this. There's just one key issue for me. This party has now been brain drained. There is no one within the apparatus of the party who's relatively that intelligent. There's a few people I can point out, like one or two that I like personally, but there's anyone who with college degrees, military experience, 90% of these people are now gone. And while, that's politically partisan within itself anymore, unfortunately, is that I think Republicans may have a good heyday here sooner or later where they know they're winning the culture war right now, at least in this vacuum. But if they can't deliver whenever they say a bunch of retarded shit, sooner or later, they're going to get their teeth knocked in. And that actually might be way sooner than what a lot of people are expecting.
I want to tie this into something. Or does anyone have anything to say on this before I tie it in?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Elysium.
All right, cool. Because it sounds interesting. So, Tiberius, when you first responded in the very beginning to something, I marked it down, and I think this ties in pretty well. You're talking about how like the next generation is always going to be more progressive than the current one, and then like so they're always going to be like pushing further and further. So like the filibuster is in a way anti-progressive. I understand what you're saying with that, but I feel like this more brings up like what does it mean to be the like extreme end of a political party? What does success mean for them? If a progressive is looking to be like, I'm the far left of the political spectrum, and success to me is beating the filibuster and taking over the Senate, that seems pretty crazy. Whereas like that seems like if you're defining success as minority rule for your policies, that's like probably a self-defeating like mentality. And so what you're saying like there is the success of the extreme of a party is just pushing their party in the direction they want it to go. So like the idea that the Senate or the filibuster is like anti a certain party or a certain extreme just seems like way too focused. It is like the moderating force, and success is to push your party towards your side. And if we do see these crazy things where the minority within a party is taking over that party, is either at time where like the politics of that party is changing, or like we should notice that something crazy is happening, right?
Tiberius?
I'm trying to parse that through a little bit. I think that we're kind of going a little bit circular in that I feel like I made some of those points already. So I don't feel like anything was a pushback there where I really
I wasn't trying to push. I was just tying all these things together. Yeah.
No, that's fine. Okay, so if you're just doing that as an establishing basis, then I 100% will be like, all right, yeah, I agree with him. I don't have anything within the meta of that I was like, okay, I really have to raise an issue with that. When it comes down to where we are now, if we're going to look at the second half of this conversation or the second hour of it, is that number one, just as a pejorative whole, does the filibuster do anyone really any good? Because right now it doesn't really seem to be helping much of anybody, at least in my opinion. And the second part is that does it need any like critical reformation to make it more effective, I guess.
I would agree. I don't think the filibuster does anyone any good, and it should totally be gone.
Well, it's being used a lot of times, right? So it's doing those people good, right?
I think Tiberius is meaning the people as a whole rather than the elected officials, because that's usually who that horse trading ends up benefiting.
Yeah, so there's an even issue with that, and granted, this might be like another level of conversation. Is that I think the short term win for the for the filibuster largely comes down to the fact that somebody can go up on TV and be like, I blocked the evil Democrats from doing this particular legislation, right? But when you get down to it, is that how long do you get to tell the American people that you stopped the bad guys before they go, when are you actually going to do something for me? And I'm largely going to advocate that's kind of where we actually are right now. I don't think that with all these filibusters that a lot of the American people or a lot of these politicians are actually in a really good spot, or either of them, because I think we've seen this already with the Republicans. We're seeing it to some degree with the Democrats, that if you just hold your feet and just don't move, but you just say you stop the other guy, that only works for so long. and then you're going to get booted out because they're going to go, you haven't done anything for me.
I'd like to. I'd like to add to that. In general, I feel like a lot of people, for sometimes justifiably, sometimes it's a bit like being brainwashed by propaganda. But a lot of people feel like we're in a time of great change, and there are various threats popping up around the world. There's war in Europe. There's escalation with China. All those foreign problems and domestic problems as well. And this is like a fundamental flaw of democracy. I love democracy. I'm not here to like argue against it, but like we have to be real about it. Democracy is slow to change. Democracy is slow to adapt to new paradigms and new situations, and that's by design. We don't want something that's too unstable, too easy to overthrow. We saw that happen with the Weimar Republic, with the early democratic experiments. So that is why, like in the second half of the 20th century, we designed democracy to be slow. We designed checks and balances. We designed protection against the tyranny of the majority, and all those other like design philosophies. But in a time of change, in a time of threats and chaos and insecurity, a lot of people see that as a flaw. And I feel like a lot of the sentiment comes from wanting to have a more reactive government, a government that can actually address issues. And like you said, like, I have this problem. Those people aren't doing anything for me. They're just they're just stopping change.
I actually got to get a little meta on this one, and this will be a fun one. So what I kind of seen from European history was that there was some issues with European democracy that American democracy didn't quite have, and that European democracies actually can move the ball a lot quicker because of the coalition systems, and that we have a two-party state, whether you like it or not, versus you guys largely have the parliamentary systems, and that's fine. The thing that I keep seeing, at least in the early democracies, like whether you're talking about Weimar, whether you're talking about some of the post-World War I democracies in general, is that there's always going to be a level of institutional weakness because of the fact that the institutions are new. So I totally chalk that up to a lot of post-World War I democracies going to hell. But on the other side of that is that a lot of these of European democracies, a lot of these European democracies, to me, structurally seem a lot more reactive to change because they're a lot more focused just within the population itself. Basically the House of Commons versus the House of Lords doesn't really mean anything anymore. The problem with those is that those seem to be the more unstable ones. And if you look at the Germans versus their democracy, World War I versus World War II, is that it's not a carbon copy. In fact, the Americans kind of helped set it up where it's a little bit more American-esque, where it is a little bit slower, where the executive branch and I can't remember what their version. Their Senate isn't that strong, but their executive branch is a hard check on their legislative, and that's largely something that I think the American system helped bring into them. So for me, it's not that we hypercharge speed. I think we actually slowed down democracy throughout most of the Western world, and that's actually been kind of one of its better motifs for success. Is that it's a little bit more stable because it's more structurally sound, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, and that was my point, kind of exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I misspoke or something, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I got the sense that what you were saying is that the stability of more recent democracies has actually come from that we sped it up, not slowed it down. I was going to argue that we've slowed it down a little bit.
Yeah, no, I want to say the same thing as what you just said, but I want to present in a way where it feels like a lot of people don't want that anymore. They want a more reactive democracy. They want a democracy that actually can keep up with the issues we're seeing from day to day. They're tired of I don't know, like here in France, a common thing is people getting disillusioned with politics because they feel like whoever they vote for, nothing ever changes. It's always status quo, status quo, status quo, or like a different flavor of status quo, basically, whether you go left or right. And then you have the rise of the extremes, because the extremes can overpromise all sorts of change and like throw away institutions, ignore political norms, and all those things.
You said you're in France, right?
Yeah.
Your last two elections have been insane.
Yeah, I know.
I can't keep up. Okay. Anyway, well, where I'm kind of with you on this is that the problem we're seeing in the West, and then this percolates into even our like East Asian friends, Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, is that the people who have the institutions and have a lot of the power still have a political power structure that largely rewards the people who are a part of it. So basically, as an example, if if you're a boomer and you went through the normal boomer things, you are still largely being rewarded by that system because you have social security here in America or things like that, right? Europe kind of has the same problem, and the issue is that particularly young folks, well, millennials and zoomers, but also people who were never quite met into that mold, they're hitting this point where they're at critical mass to where it's not a situation where you've got 70-80% of the body politic within the norms of the parties that help govern, and then everybody else is out on the fringe. It's now you're kind of at balancing point. We just saw, particularly in Germany, where the coalitions after 20 years went from the center, black red, and now it's, SPD and the Grün and what's the other one? I can't remember. Delunca, I think. Not Delunca, sorry. But what I'm getting at is that it looks like people are upset, people are moving around, but it's not because that the system isn't working. The system's working for who it's supposed to. The problem is that the amount of people that it's supposed to is shrinking. And that's kind of where what I'm trying to issue for over here. Sorry, I'm getting tripped over my words a little bit, but that's kind of the thing that I'm seeing right now overall as a general is that democracy's working. It's just weird in that the power structures are really concentrated, and it's not in the typical way where it's just like, oh, the 1%, even though leftists here like to bitch about that kind of thing. Because France is doing very well with keeping their, I'll put it this way, their wealth structures. You guys have probably one of the flattest, wealth pyramids in the world. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll leave to people's personal politics. But in every regard, you have the exact same problem that we Americans do, just an order of magnitude different. You're still dealing with deindustrialization. You've got people literally shipping their jobs to Eastern Europe instead of China for you guys versus us. You've got wages that are trying to be hang in there, but you're either seeing the wage depreciate or you're seeing the job go away. You're seeing the political extremes, whether you have Le Pen or I can't remember the far left candidate anymore. They are growing because people are falling out of the system, or if more particularly, people are coming up into the system and they don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. And like you said, it is a thing. Like those democracies did serve their purpose, and just people aren't the target of that purpose anymore, or at least a lot of people are falling out by the wayside. I don't know what the solution to that is. It's something I think about.
I don't think there needs to be a
often.
solution. I think democracies are handling things fast enough. I don't think we've talked about I don't think that going faster, if people wanting to go faster is really even a good thing. I think it's more like a people problem. People just kind of want to complain about things and be upset about things and pretend things are bad. And at the end of the day, things are really good. So there's not really much to actually complain about. So we take some things and make them into a big deal.
Wait, but then why do you oppose the filibuster? Eliminating the filibuster is literally accelerating U.S. democracy.
Accelerating it into a still perfectly fine place. I think we don't lose any balance of power.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah,
I'm testing you.
We have plenty of balance. Okay, that is. I can agree that's an acceleration, but that's because right now the filibuster is not only not stopping the acceleration, it's just clumping everything up, and it shouldn't exist in the first place. Supermajority for legislation just seems insane.
Do we know if there are other countries that have things like the filibuster? Because I only know about the US having a filibuster.
I'm pretty sure Iceland has something similar, but they have the previous question rule still in place. And if I remember correctly, Papua New Guinea has it as well.
Okay.
I mean, those are the only two places that were no, because like I said, I read a couple of books, planning for this panel, and in the process, those were the only two mentioned as reference points that also have similar issues. So it's the only two I know
And there's also a problem in the regards that not only do we have the filibuster, but it's in one particular house where it's not that you don't see other bicameral legislatures within the world, but to the degree and to the power that you see it within the United States is to a caliber unto itself. I don't know if there's any other country in the world that you can say that the houses are really that level of equal. And so I still have people openly tell me the Senate's still more powerful than the House, and I think there's some arguments to that, which is weird because almost any other country that's not the case.
Well, what I can say for the French system, the Senate, the Senate has technically less power because it doesn't actually write the law proposals, but it has when it rejects the law proposal, it can suggest amendments when it throws it back to the Parliament. So I'd say they're roughly equal, honestly. Like no law can pass without the approval of both chambers, regardless. So
I'm not super familiar with the French political. I'll say this: I understand your politics in regard, like it's not Renaissance, is it? That's the new major party, or is it?
Oh yeah, he renamed it. I
can't keep up with your politics. It's insane.
Just say Macron. It's
yeah, but your political system as a whole, as far as like how you guys structure your system, is interesting. And every time I try to remember it, I can't remember if is that the First Republic? Is that the Third Republic? Is that the Fifth Republic? Like, can you all stick with something for a little bit? Like, you ousted de Gaulle, you got something going since there, but that's about it. So consistency for another 50 years, and maybe we'll call it cool.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I actually, when he was still Menin, they invited me to come on and talk about stuff like that. And I tried reading about French politics. I got lost. I got so fucking lost.
I feel like because it's something I've tried as well, like reading up on another country's politics and from like a completely foreign perspective, trying to understand them. If you're not living there on this like day-to-day basis and seeing the names, seeing the faces, seeing like a debate, catching the debate on TV, stuff like that, it's so fucking hard to actually understand what's going on. It's nearly impossible. You just end up like projecting your own what you know onto it, and it's like usually 80% false. Like you don't get all the nuances.
Even when I lived in Detroit and literally could walk out my front door and within 2 hours of walking be in Canada, we didn't understand Canadian politics, and they're literally our fucking neighbors.
Yeah, but who does want to understand Canadian?
True.
Oh! When you go to Canada all the time, like we did as kids, we really should have known more than we did.
Fuck the Leafs. Okay,
I think especially when they're on fucking horses.
Yeah, and wearing red. Okay. I think we all agree filibuster sucks. I don't think.
Yeah, but I don't. I agree. My issue again always will be how do we change it without fucking it up in the process?
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Let's talk about that. So I don't think we need to get rid of this. I don't think saying the filibuster sucks extends to saying that like the Senate sucks or we need to get rid of the Senate. And I don't really think we need to do anything special or to change it. The removal of the filibuster just allows the Senate to operate like an actual branch of government. And it'll still be a back and forth compromise between the Senate and the House in order for any legislation to pass. And then the president still has a veto, and the Supreme Court still has its oversight.
So I'm quite interested. Like Jack, you mentioned like a power vacuum. What would that power vacuum be then? Like,
the power vacuum would be they're losing one of their biggest obstructionist tools. What are they going to resort to next? And that's where I don't know.
You resort to winning elections.
Yeah, they can't do that on the merits most of the time.
Okay, then they shouldn't.
Why they wait? I agree. Hold on, I'm not arguing any of that, Elysium. But I think we agree on all these points. So let me get to the end, and I think you'll see where I'm going. They can't win on the merits, so they've been using the filibuster and this David versus Goliath fucking motif of I'm stopping the bad guys from getting to us to maintain their power. If we get rid of it, what are they going to try to use to maintain their power next? And since I saw January 6th, I'm a little scared that answer might be violent. So that's why I'm scared what that power vacuum would look like. It could be nothing. I could be fearing nothing. I'm not going to sit here and say this is a guarantee, but it is a fear because power vacuums always resort in some amount of change. and sometimes that change can be rather severe.
Okay, wait. This really still doesn't make sense to me. I can understand saying there's like or making your decision-making process because of a power vacuum that's going to happen, that's going to be like negative to the political environment or something. I feel like this is not something we want to use as like how do we set up our system? Well,
No,
we're
that's why
afraid
I
that
leave
people
it.
are
No,
going to
that's why
go.
I leave it to somebody smarter than me, that's more educated on the subject, to me to come up with a plan to titrate us off that particular policy, not just a cold turkey removal. That's all. I'd rather people who have a far better understanding of the inner workings, because I can understand the broad strokes, but I'm not a political scientist. There are nuances here that I doubt any of us on this panel understand all of, and some of us will understand bits of it that others don't, etc. It's one of these things that is so complicated. I would rather leave it to people who are far more educated on the subject to tell us how to either transition out of it, or if we can cold turkey out of it. Because right now, every time we have cold turkey removed a policy, it has resulted in massive social upheaval. Case in point, repeal of Roe v. Wade resulted in protests for, what was it, 3 months?
What's wrong with that? How's
Nationwide?
that a problem?
Yeah, but what if the other side resorts to violence again, like they did on January
Then
6th?
we
We
have
had
a
not
police
seen
force.
anything like, dude, I've been alive for a long time. We had never seen anything like that on our shores before. That is
Wait,
a
no.
terrifying.
We've never seen anything like that in Congress before. What do you mean?
No, on
We
our
had
shores.
BLM
That was
protests
against
for
our government.
months.
No, that was against our government. Yeah, you want to say in Congress. That is still on our shores, in our government, actual insurrection. We've never seen anything like that in the last 200 years.
I,
200 years.
I'd like to butt in just to say one thing, though. I find it. I get your point, but I find it a hard pill to swallow to make prescriptions based off of the. It's like negotiating with terrorists, right? We're making prescriptions based off of wanting to assuage or like placate like a very violent minority and a very small minority of the population. Is it possible that the like 3%ers and all those crazies will be like, oh, they're taking the swampocrats are taking over or something? We need to do a violent insurrection. It's possible, but should that really stop good policy from going through? I don't know.
No. Personal prescription is perfectly justifiable to react slightly on a fear of the unknown that we can't know because we're not within the nuance of it. Do I think that the policy in and of itself needs to be, oh, we need to negotiate with these people? No. But people that are far more involved in the situation, far more educated on the system than you or I, need to be the ones making those prescriptions, whether or not it should be a drastic change or a slow change. I prefer slow change due to my personal prescription. I'm not in the government, so this personal prescription means
Okay,
fuck
so
all that
all we
anybody
can speak
besides the
to
panel.
is our personal prescriptions. So I think that's the only thing that makes sense to talk about, right?
Yeah,
Unless you
and
want to say,
that's why I'm speaking from the personal. That's what I'm saying. It means fuck all to anybody besides the people here on the panel and the people watching.
sure. So if I'm understanding correctly, you personally want a slow change because you don't want to cause too much upheaval.
Yeah, I'm all about harm reduction, minimizing the chance of harm. A slower, in my mind, makes sense, would be the less likely chance of creating any kind of lasting harm.
Fucking leftist. God damn it. What are you doing in here?
Hey, open communist.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? From your talking points, I actually thought you were like, some kind of right-wing.
Well, Chinchilla and I have actually argued about this in private. He says I'm more collectivist, and I can't argue because when I get compared to communists, they always compare me to CCP and all that shit, and I'm more Roddenberry-esque communist.
Space Star Trek, gay communism, got it.
Based.
How do we get there? Not my lifetime. No fucking clue how we get there. Do I want it for my
there's a
children and
little
grandchildren? Yes, I
there's a
want
little realism.
that future eventually.
I don't see how we can abandon all of our like legal frameworks and structures, and even like something if we're framing the filibuster as like returning to a more representative system of government. So like this, you're saying this minority rule politic style that has taken over our democracy needs to be like transitioned out of. I don't know how we can have no faith in our legal system to be able to like do that process. Right? Like
Have you seen our
anything.
legal system?
Yes, I think it's fine. I think people that even insurrectionists on January 6th have been processed through our legal system and been held accountable for the like very large degree.
Okay, I'll give you that one. I'm not going to switch this conversation to our political
Okay.
justice system because that's a totally different conversation.
Okay, and in that case, like we were talking about, like the vacuum, the possible power vacuum. Um, I wonder. Let's say we get rid of the filibuster. Um, how likely would it be, in your guys' opinion, that it could be like flip floppity when it comes to when you have one power in charge and then the other power gets like elected after like 4 years, and so maybe that concern when it comes to people that think that now things are just basically going to flip flop whenever one party is in charge, and so is that a concern of your guys, or how do I need to look at that?
That's a concern, and I don't know if it would happen, but it's a concern at least. Yeah.
I'm really not concerned about that. So to have this flip-flopping effect, your party needs to control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Otherwise, there's going to be a check. And then we've got Supreme Court levels all the way on top of that. But if someone wins, all three, I won't say branches because Congress is one branch, but like all three positions in creating legislation in the United States, and they absolutely should have the mandate to make legislation. That's like a super majority of victories in like of elections. So like the idea that like the group that wins all of these elections is going to flip flop back and forth, then that's what the electorate wants, and that's what should be represented.
I'm actually going to second that to a large degree, but the other side of that is that the one thing that I wanted to add is I'm not worried about it in the sense that Americans would have to do something that they usually don't do, and that's actually repeal laws. One of the incredible things that, at least that I've seen in American history, is that we don't really repeal shit. We'll ignore it. We won't like enforce anything that's been on the books for 150 years, but like we'll openly never like take it off the books. And like, you know, as an example, one of the most powerful repeal movements in my lifetime was the repeal of the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare. Couldn't get it done. Could not remotely get it done. Couldn't even get close.
Thank you, McCain.
And that actually had quite a bit of push behind it. Now, whether you want that or not, I'm not going to go there. What I'll simply say is that even with that, they couldn't get it passed. There was a chance where they probably could have back in 2017. They could have gone and done that. They didn't. So for me, blatantly straight and clear, not only is Elysium correct in the regards that I wouldn't be worried about it in the fact that you kind of have to, fill a couple of holes here, critical victories to actually make it where you could even possibly do it. But then actually having the will to do it, I don't know. I don't think that's really a concern for me.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I will point out to the antiquated laws. There is a law in Michigan where it is illegal to marry a farm animal on Sunday. Every other day of the week it's legal, but it is illegal on Sunday. I don't know why that law exists, but it has been on the books since the 1840s.
It's the day of the Lord, man. Gotta have respect.
But my thing is, why is it legal the other 6 days?
Yeah, in the UK they still also have like weird laws on the book. Like you cannot in London you cannot walk around with a fish looking suspicious. That's the actual law.
Yeah, and if you're a pregnant woman, you're still allowed to go up to a bobby and request his hat if you're caught short of the loo. You can urinate in a policeman's cap if you were a pregnant woman.
Yeah, that's like that. It never got repealed, but obviously, like those are things are not being enforced anymore. But yeah, that's an interesting thought. But
there's a YouTube video of a tourist trying the policeman's cap thing. It still works to this day.
Yeah, the one thing I'd like to add.
All right.
The one thing I'd
Sorry
like to
about
add,
that.
like going back to the topic of like we do have enough checks and balances aside from the filibuster. Like that was kind of my opening statement. Like we have so many of them, we can definitely take away like a couple and move on. And I could be in pain. And
Yeah, I'll give it to
breathing,
you.
like,
You and
spitting my
Tiberius, you
lungs
changed my
out.
mind. I still think a slow transition would be better, but I'm definitely more inclined to be supportive of a rapid change if it was supported by the rest of the country.
I think
Yeah.
you could be like somewhat nuanced there. You can say you could try.
Oh shit! Hey, thanks for the raid, Chud Logic and Chudders. Welcome to the panel. We're debating the filibuster.
Matter, right? You can try that one first. before
Fucking
you get
broken
rid
U.S.
of the
democracy shit.
filibuster.
Well, because that would be
If that
easier, because
makes-
that would just be changing a senatorial law or a senatorial procedural rule, which would be very, very easy to change.
So welcome
would
to the
only
stream.
require a
For
simple
those who don't know me,
majority,
I'm
vote
Oyoyo.
within the Senate to change.
The
The thing is I don't think they
God,
want to change it because I doubt they want to get up there and try
I'm
talking
trying to
for
listen to the
24
panel.
fucking hours.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, I don't know if we covered everything around this topic because we seem to mostly agree with each other. But
Which I did not expect. I honestly thought the Tiberius was going to be the diehard supporter of the filibuster here.
No, like don't get me wrong. I've got my right wing takes, but the filibuster, like even as a structural analyst kind of person, even if I'm gonna like simp hard for the right wing and just be like, all right, Republican or die, right or die. I can't structurally make a good argument for it, even in that kind of like super partisan hat kind of motif. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and quite honestly, the moment that I get the political power that I want, the filibuster can be used against me. Like unironically, even if you're taking like the super base centrist or the hyper partisan take, like I don't structurally see why you want the filibuster. I honestly like I think for anyone who just doesn't understand, excuse me, for anyone who just doesn't really understand what's going on in American politics, is the only reason why you're going to advocate for it. In the regard that there's still a lot of Republicans that are in this idea like they're the minority and that they're just literally going to get run over by the quote unquote progress of history. And I think the reality is actually the opposite. And the sooner they realize that, the better. In the regards that, hell, I could totally see where the Republicans, the Democrats somehow destroy the filibuster like here in the next year or two. Let's just assume that possibly could happen. And then literally within 5 years are the ones going, we need the filibuster back.
I can tell you exactly.
Yeah,
the
that
people
could
who
totally
want
happen.
to get rid of it. It's people who believe that everyone secretly agrees with them. It's why this whole question was framed as like, is the filibuster anti-progressive? Because if I'm of the mindset, I'm a progressive, everyone really agrees with me. We're all progressives. The only thing stopping us from getting all these amazing progressive policies is like this tiny minority of Republicans in power with the filibuster fucking everything up. And if only the filibuster was gone, I'd have everything I want and everyone agrees with me. And it's just like a huge fantasy. And that exists for progressives and it exists for some Republicans too. And it just,
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Like, I just got to echo that so hard. 100% is that, and I think it's for a few people on the right, but not definitely. It's been a big motif on the left. Is that they've got this idea that by voter rolls, 60% of the population is supposed to be Democrat, but there's a reason why a huge percentage of that coalition doesn't show up to the polls. Is that coalition is so goddamn big that it can't make everybody happy, and so you just can't bring everybody out to the fight. And that's actually where
That's why we need a multi-party system.
I absolutely disagree with that. Do not ever speak of that again. Anyway,
well, that goes back to something you said at the start, Tiberius. That you like asked like seriously, if the roles were reversed, if the filibuster was blocking or maintaining the Democrat status quo, and the Republicans were like struggling to get their policies through and change things, would we still have the same position? I think honestly, a lot of progressive Democrat blue people would completely flip around. They just want the policy that supports their side. They don't actually have like a logic of what's the better institution and like any principles behind it. But I
don't know
actually
if I'd give you a majority, but a larger percentage than I care for would definitely do that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I respect the fact that you have that principle, Tiberius. That's really cool. Like that you're not like calculating, okay, what's best for the party. No, what makes sense for the democracy. That I think that's the correct approach.
Well, I appreciate that, but it's also a level where it's twofold. Number one is that I do have a thing where I try to be a structural analyst, and to be that kind of analyst, you have to begone your basically your biases where and when possible. It's not that I don't have biases; I absolutely do. I think everyone knows like some of those biases, at least by this point. But in the regards that I have to understand what factually and, if you will, mechanically works, because I have seen so much of this country's history literally been like, hey, let's do this, we'll make everything fucking better, and then it's not. In fact, it sometimes gets a lot worse. And so I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that's just like, hey, look, I got a radical thing here for you, like redrawing the states based on mineral and water rights, some shit like that. But, then it's like, hey, I actually have thought it out. There's some reasoning to this. I can actually put something forward instead of, I'm going to get rid of the filibuster because I'm going to make abortion illegal in all 50 states, and that's the easiest and quickest way to do it. I'm like, yeah, how could that possibly not fuck up everything that I'm doing? So, yeah, I'm really tending on that. The second thing is...
I get you, and honestly, you gave a better idea of how to redraw state lines than I ever fucking came up with.
I appreciate that. Geopolitics, Tiberius D, shout out. Let's go.
Yeah, that being said, I don't know if there's anything we haven't covered yet on this topic, because I think we are kind of full circle.
I think now we can just dunk on you because of your crap camera.
True.
Sure.
Fuck. What's going on?
I gotta. I think it's empty or something, like the GoPro. I think that's what's going on. But yeah, whatever.
Ran out of RAM,
RAM. Yeah,
Download some more.
I didn't have enough dedicated RAM, so
I didn't think about that because my camera doesn't need that. It has built-in memory into it, so I didn't think about that. That's weird.
But no, that being said, did we cover everything, guys? Or is there something that I forgot, or we forgot to cover before we?
I mean, I think the only part that all of us disagreed on, besides me, was the talking filibuster might be a semi-cooling solution. Everybody else is like, no, just get rid of it completely.
I'll to just entertain that. I don't have a problem with that. The problem that I have with the suggestion is that it was kind of addressed by Elysium, is that I don't think the problem's with the rules. I think the problem's with the respect that our elected officials have for one another, and that even if we had this rule, is somebody literally just gonna be like, I'm going to filibuster and try the most, whether you call it corny or intelligent way to do this, to where they just shut down the conversation by literally just repeating the same talking points over and over again. They bring up the 99 reasons why abortion should be legal or illegal or what have you, and they just speak for as long as they possibly can. There's always a way to metagame this to screw up everything. And so I'm not saying what you are advocating for wouldn't help a little bit, but I just think it's generally, if people are going to have any of these institutions, there's the level of base respect, civility, and understanding of what those institutions are supposed to do. And if people aren't willing to honor it, the rules don't mean shit.
Well, yeah, see, and my reasoning for the rule coming back in is that I think it would bring some of that back, because then you'd really have to be dedicated to get up there and fucking talk for as long as possible. I mean, that's the thing. You'd have to actually put in the effort, and I don't think a lot of these GOPers want to do that when they're too busy doing their horse trading in the back rooms.
I can't speak to that.
No, that's why it's a supposition on my part.
Yeah, sure. So the weird part is I've got two thoughts here. Number one is that the fact that the Senate remotely as democratic as it is really should never happen, and that's actually, if I was ever going to make a partisan argument for redrawing the states, it'd be exactly that. How is it that 90% of the counties are red, and yet somehow you've got 25 of the states literally going down to the line? That's really weird, because that is more of a proportionality when it comes to actually land.
Wait, 90% of the counties aren't red. 90% of land mass is red.
Same general thing here, yes?
Because some cities have like 20 counties in them compared to like one rural county that spreads
Yeah,
across.
I'm,
like,
I'm just talking
third
like
of
in
the
a
state.
general numbers thing, is that in theory, if you're actually looking at how the numbers should shake out, is that if you have the states being largely supplanted by just being the land and the vote of the land versus the House being the kind of the general vote of the people, the House should always be at like a 60-40 split in favor of Democrats, but the state should be like at minimum like a 70-30 split in favor of Republicans. Not saying that we want that or we should do that. I'm just saying that the numbers really are skewed both in favor of Republicans in one way and Democrats in another.
Yeah, actually, according to the book I was reading, historically, and this was done by political scientists doing fucking meta-analysis of research and all that. Historically, we have done best with a Democratic House, a Republican Senate, and a Democratic President. That is when our country has done the best.
On how do they measure that? Like, what the?
Yeah, dude, they didn't give the rubric in the book. It was a book about the filibuster. This was
I
talking
think
Okay.
I read this. I think I read this book. Say that last line one more
the kill
time.
switch.
What
It was kill switch is the book.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but say
Yo,
that
Thanks
last
for the follows,
line.
PP and Chan, Gringo 90210.
Historically,
Thank you
the
for the
U.S.
follows.
government has done best when it had a Democratic House, a Republican Senate, and a Democratic President.
Yeah, I gotta say,
you're-
I don't grant much about. I see people all the time like saying that the the economy was better under this party or under that party and stuff like that. Like usually those things are way more complex and
Yeah, well, they said they were doing analysis of research papers. Like this was not
Okay.
like just making assumptions. This was actually letting researchers do the work and then them write it out into a book.
Okay, I'd be really curious, like on what criteria it is, because I have very little faith in those like generalized statements of.
To be honest, I do too. Anthropological study can be very, very fascinating, but it is so generalized in certain respects, especially on the cultural anthropological side. That, dude, how do you define better? Is the next question. What was best? I mean, where are they even starting that line? I don't even know where that line was for them.
If I were to go to make an assumption about what was better in their minds, like whoever wrote that, was probably the amounts of things they passed, right? That's probably the
It may have been
idea of
number of
like
bills,
what,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
That-
don't know what their metric was, but it's
Yeah.
still an interesting concept that they were like, no, we need the Republicans. We need like
Thanks to
in
follow
that, in
Fun
that
One
argument,
too.
it's, no, we need the Republicans.
All right, let's keep
in
it.
a very
Oh fuck,
big
we
bad
lost.
way. That
I was gonna say let's keep it at 69 viewers, but shit,
I mean,
we're
don't
at
get me wrong.
65 now.
As a communist,
Rip.
I'm very much.
We can all
more-
leave now.
I'd rather see multi-party because then maybe we'd see a communist or socialist senator in there one day. But I mean, I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime, if ever.
God willing.
Okay, yeah. Now I think we actually we did cover everything. So I want to thank Tiberius D for coming on, and I want to thank Jack for coming on. So Tiberius, maybe shout yourself out.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? My name is Tiberius D. If you liked my takes, you can definitely come check me out on Twitch and YouTube. If you don't know what I do, largely I talk about geopolitics, basically what's going on in the wider world and why everything is going to hell in a handbasket. If you want me to talk a little bit more domestic issues, I definitely do that. I largely do economic and political, like structural analysis, see what works, what doesn't, because that was my field of study. I studied in economics and political science, and I like to understand how the things work like a mechanism. Democracy 4 is actually a really good analog for like viewing the way that I view the world. So if you're interested in any of those wonderful things, definitely come check me out. I thank you for having me.
Okay, and Jack, I don't know if you actually stream or.
Well, no, I don't stream, but I am starting to do the panel circuit, and my experience isn't actually in being educated on the subject in school. I'm more of the activist. I'm the old head. You're talking to somebody who actually marched with Abby Hoffman at one point in time in the 80s, and participated in some rather more extreme protests when I was younger that I'm glad the statute of limitations applies to.
Okay.
But yeah, anybody, like, honestly, I can talk on most subjects, but I'll be the first to tell you if I don't know. So, if you like my takes, invite me on your panel. I'll be more than willing to talk about just about anything. And if I don't know, I'll be the first to tell you.
yeah, so for any hosts out there listening to the Lib Praxis show, you can book Jack for any panel that he is interested for or educated on. So that being said, like, of course, thank you, it's Oyoyo, and thank you, Elysium, for coming on as well. And yeah, I think that
You're
was pretty
always
much
coming.
it. That being said, like, we do this podcast every week at 4 p.m. Eastern, or 10 p.m. Dutch time. So yeah, every week. So for anybody that's watching, hopefully to next week. And yeah, I was the host, Chichila __. So yeah, thank you guys. So I'm gonna send you guys off to. Uh, are you going to keep on streaming, Oyoyo?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, Oyoyo or it's Oyoyo?
Oh, it's Oyoyo.
It's a yo-yo, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
It will
Yeah, and
always
again-
be Menon.
Yeah, that's fine too.
Name Manon.
Hey,
Again,
Jack and Otter, I saw you
guys
change
for-
your changed your name on Twitch
It will be
too.
changed. It will be changed back. It was changed as a joke. We
Oh,
were
okay.
watching. There's a trailer
I
for
could
this
masturbate, and I could
super
be in
fucking
pain
cringe
and like breathing, like spitting my lungs out.
mockumentary called "The Culture Killers: The Woke Wars." And in that particular trailer, they call the left beyond Orwell, and I changed my name as a joke. It will be changed back to Canada Painting soon.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I
Alright.
didn't realize when I clicked OK that I was going to have to wait 2 months.
Yeah, you're stuck with it for a couple months. Yep.
Hey, thanks for the sub. If anyone's still listening, always appreciate that.
All right, I'm gonna leave. Thank you for the,
How dare
thank you for
you.
the discussion.
You
Bye-bye.
can't stick around and actually
Right.
talk to us like grown men? Well, how dare you? No, I'm kidding.
No.
If you're in France, dude, it's hella late. Get the fuck to bed.
He got the rates,
No, I'm gonna-
and he's like, I'm gonna ditch these.
Yeah, exactly. I got the clout now.
This guy.
I got what I wanted.
And hi, Elysium.
So yeah,
No, I'm
So,
not going to bed. Bye bye.
I'm gonna play some Genshin Impact. So
All right. Yeah, finally got rid of those. Okay, no, I love those people. Hey, thank you for the raid again. Thank you for hello everyone who's sticking around. Probably fucking fell asleep at their keyboard. Welcome to the stream. This is It's Oyoyo. You might have known me as Neymanen. I showed up on Chud and Rhizome's A Streamer Nightmares show a couple months ago. I changed some things around with my stream. Some things haven't changed. I'm still a huge nerd. But hey, I hope it's more entertaining. I hope you're having fun. Thank you for all the follows. Thank you for hanging out. We're done with the panel now. So what we're gonna do is we are going to. I've been wanting to check out some. I wanted to check out some like videos on YouTube. Recently, I've been on a really big bend of looking at like red pill and dating advice. Not just red pill, just generally dating and commenting on that stuff. I'm a huge coomer, and I love analyzing, like, you know, relationships, interpersonal stuff, seeing like what advice can work, what advice doesn't really work. So I'm on that tip right now. So that's what we're going to do. Let me just rename the stream. The streamer is a confirmed sex addict. He loves sex and talks about sex. No. It's not that bad. I'll meme it up a bit, but you know, no, let's not exaggerate. Hey, Pandart, how are you doing? All right. Dating advice review. Let's just name it like that. And let me change the YouTube title as well. Wait, actually, fuck. I also wanted to catch up on my Discord memes real quick. Now let's just do this. I'm gonna get tired anyways afterwards. Oh shit, Tiberius D is multi-streaming. Wait a second. He's multi-streaming. Is he? No. Wait. Is he? Isn't he affiliate? I gotta warn him. There's been this change with the Twitch terms of service, and it makes it look as if it's okay to multi-stream if you're affiliate. He is affiliate. Oh shit. Oh shit, I'm gonna need to warn him. Birds and bees need no psychology. That's actually false. Okay, that's actually completely fucking false. Don't you know their birds have all those like mating rituals? The bees have all their own like you know, interactions, psychological stuff. Hey, oh, when are we talking about dating advice, dog? I've got a Coomer question. Sure. You wanna talk? We can talk. Hop into my Discord. Get in now. Yo. Thanks for the follow, Tiberius. Who asks them? Oh, also, wait, I'm not subscribed to you on YouTube. Hey, Tiberius, I wanted to warn you. I see your multi-streaming and stuff. I imagine it's because of the change in the Twitch TOS. I don't know if you're actually listening to me or not, but you got to be careful. The Twitch TOS, it doesn't actually allow like YouTube live streaming, which we're small streamers, so that shit doesn't matter. But okay, Kino, are you actually coming or are you baiting me? If you're baiting me, yeah, Discord or ban. I'm actually, you're getting like a 1-day ban if you're baiting me, because I'm like waiting for you now. Alright, so I saw Not So Erudite had some like shit for shit about dating. I wanted to review that. Like get a bit out of the red pill zone. No, I'm going to type it out. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm joking. That's fine.
Dating apps for men is basically like playing on nightmare mode.
Yes!
Most of the women on there are bots. The women who aren't bots are oftentimes so nervous to meet people because they've had such bad experiences that they're extremely unlikely to go on a date with you. And also there's going to be like 2 or 3 gigachads who are just like natty freaks who take amazing photos, and most of the girls are just going to match with them. And let's be honest.
Dude, that's what I've been saying for like fucking 3 months to everyone who can listen. I've been saying that to everyone. Like, fuck dating sites. If you're a dude, like, dating sites suck ass. They're terrible. If you don't have a like the most solid mental you can possibly have, you're destroying your own self-worth as a man on a dating site. Dr. Doolittle, dedication versus me. Just use Grindr. Actually, good advice. Unironically. They have never enforced it, but Twitch is doing a great job of running people off as it is. That is true, though. That is true. They don't really enforce it, so like you're fine, right? It's not a big issue. But I saw a lot of people misunderstand their recent PR statement about multi-streaming. Yeah, someone. Oh wait, I should put a marker here. Someone don't understand how little matches most guys get. They take it for granted. Yeah, I had that debate. So I went out drinking with a couple of friends I haven't seen in a long time last weekend. And at some point they were talking about a friend we have in common and how he's because I started talking about like incel stuff because that's the shit I've been doing like on stream and whatever, and I started explaining to them like, so this is what an incel is. This is like the red pill incel philosophy, and then they like look at me and they're like, oh shit, do you know that friend of ours, he's been totally falling down that rabbit hole, and they like start describing the stuff he's been saying, how he's been like complaining about women, stuff like that, and it's totally what's going on with him. And she was, so my friend, she was like, well, I keep telling him I want to help him fill out, I want to help him do a dating app profile. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Like, don't let him go into a dating app when you're already like incel pilled, because that shit's gonna fucking toxify you fully. It's gonna, if he's like teetering on the brink of going full incel, that's gonna be like the last push to shove him completely over the edge. After like he's gonna spend 2 weeks, he's gonna swipe like 200 women. He's gonna get one woman swiping him back, and she's gonna like ghost the convo after 3 sentences. And that's just the reality. It's gonna destroy him. So I was telling her like, no, fuck that shit. What you need to do is like get him out of the house, get him to touch grass, go like to bars together. Not like bars aren't the perfect setting for that, but at least IRL interactions, none of this like online dating shit. Okay, so this girl I'm talking to, we're talking three messages right now, is into horror movies and prefers to be a homebody who prefers watching movies rather than partying. My strategy is to suggest a bunch of new movies to her and then ask her out to get some drinks. And once she's had a few, then suggest we go back and watch said movies. Thoughts? I'm interpreting homebody who prefers watching movies as sexy time. Dude, she just isn't the party girl. She wants to watch. She likes watching movies. Don't like interpret it as being DTF. That's the wrong understanding. That's what I want to say, like, in response to what you're saying. Someone being like, I like horror movies doesn't mean they're DTF, doesn't mean they want to like Netflix and chill. What you should propose, I'm proposing drinks is fine, that's like generic. What I would go for, invite her to, oh no, not the cinema. The cinema for a first date sucks because you don't get to like actually talk and you have to like sit awkwardly next to each other for an hour and a half before actually having a conversation. Now go for drinks. Go for drinks. Go for drinks and I don't know. Just don't be that cringe guy who's like super thirsty and interpreting everything like we're gonna fuck. If she invites you back home, then probably, but you know, keep like don't like be the pressury weirdo guy, you know what I mean? But yeah, probably that would mean you end up fucking. Definitely chill on the like get her drunk and then have sex with her rhetoric. I know you don't mean anything bad by it, but you know. Yo, thanks for the follow. I kitty claw. Is that how you pronounce it? My opening statement was, how do you pronounce your name? I'm basically in at this point. True. Her pussy's so fucking wet. It's inundating the whole county. No doctors can fix thoughts and emotions. No one can teach attitude, full stop. That's not true. That's actually like objectively false. Now, a lot of psychology, like going back into the first half of the 20th century, a lot of psychology is bunk. Not entirely bunk, but like Freud, Lacan, Jung, there isn't like a really good scientific method behind their findings, but give credit where credit is due. They started that shit. And it was built, and the rest was built off of it. So it's still cool. But you absolutely can change. You can teach and change attitude and thoughts and emotions. Cognitive behavioral therapy is a real thing and almost as pleasant as cock and ball torture, since you know they share the same acronym. I highly recommend both. I seriously highly recommend both. IRL is a better place to meet women if you can do it. Absolutely. The thing is with IRL, at least in my experience, is when you go like Giga Chad mode and you like smile at women and they smile back and you'll like go talk to them, you invite them for a drink, stuff like that. Your success rate's way better compared to like a dating app, if compared to like swiping, and the rapport is way better too. I've had like relationships 3 months into the relationship. My partner was still doubting me, like on a very fundamental level, where I remember this one interaction. I was lying in bed with my girlfriend. So like once again, it's like 3 months into the relationship. I'm lying in bed with her, and we were like talking about fantasies, kinks, stuff like that. And at some point, something I said like ticked her off, and she brings up like, "But would you actually have sex with someone sleeping?" And in her mind, what she was asking was like, would you rape someone who was sleeping? In my mind, I hesitated because in the past, I have dated a girl who had like this fantasy of being woken up by sex. So I was thinking of her, which in that case, it is consensual. She consents to this. It's like consensual non-consent on a certain level. She consents to the act in the future, right? And she interpreted my hesitation as me like having raped women. It was a super painful conversation. She got like super angry at me. It almost destroyed the relationship right there. Yeah, the hesitation was taken the wrong way, exactly. She was like super mad at me. She almost dumped me there. The relationship started going downhill from that point anyways. And like a couple months later, the relationship was finished. And I fucking hate that. I'm sorry. I understand where she's coming from. I understand the like give her the Sargon line was the Sargon line. I understand that like it was a bad look for me, but I fucking hate this idea that, dude, I can't have like, what am I supposed to do? I like my shit's getting interpreted the worst fucking manner. This woman knows me intimately. Yeah, previous relationship. This woman knows me intimately, and she is still thinking of like this guy could be like this secret serial rapist. And I understand 3 months isn't a lot, but Jesus Christ, give me some charitability, please. I feel like a lot of this has to do with the internet, because she was someone I met off of Tinder, and we like hooked up real fast. Things kind of went fast at the start, so there wasn't much of a trust built up, I guess. And the internet doesn't help with that. You meet someone on the internet, you're thinking like, oh shit, are they a serial killer? Are they like one of those weirdo abusive people? Are they just like gonna ghost me in a month? Like there are all those weird things that can happen. You meet someone IRL, you already have much more of a human rapport. You know they're a human being. Even though that, like, statistically they might as well be a serial killer as I don't. There's no more reason to trust someone you meet IRL more, but I feel like you do trust people IRL more if you meet them that way. Now here's a pickup line that worked a million times for me. I tell her directly, "You must accept my fuck. I must fuck a baby into you." That is suave as fuck. What if the conversation doesn't really flow? Like, hey, how do you pronounce your name? Hey, what do you think of this movie? Hey, want to go out and get drinks? It's so hard to maintain a convo over this fucking app, especially when they take 12 hours to fucking respond. And that is why dating apps suck ass. Dude, I fucking hate that shit too. If she's not interested in me, enough to have a conversation, I'm not pushing it, okay? I'm not chasing people. If you're interested in me, you will respond at some point in a timely manner. Or like, I'm not in like a clingy way. I don't care. You can respond the next day, but you want me like 1-word responses. You like ask me questions. You're interested in who I am as well. If you're not interested in who I am, I'm not gonna force it. I'm not gonna be interested in who you are. And like, I'm not gonna lie. You gotta stop that. If she's acting completely like a fucking brick wall, fuck her, dude. And I don't mean like fuck her. I mean like fuck that shit. Move on. There's other fish in the sea. That's just like psychologically painful. Don't force yourself through that. Based, yeah, like the dude that's just fucking painful. Yeah, if she does this brick wall, I'm fucking done. Good. Don't let people do that to you. Based, fuck women. Unless you're gay, then fuck men. I left my house at school. Pain. Wait, what do you mean? All right, back to the erudite video.
Taking photos is like really hard. It's a tricky thing to do, and if you don't have very many good photos, you're kind of fucked on dating app. And it's weird because I'm gonna say it again. I don't actually think women select that dominantly just for looks alone, but
fucking yes, she is. You know what? She is absolutely right too. I feel like the volume's a bit low. Let's go 150%.
Dating app land, that's mostly what they're picking based on. Here are better places to meet women. Number 1, volunteering.
Yes! Dude! Volunteer for something. This is the thing I say every single time. Go to a hobby club. Go volunteer. You're gonna meet people with similar interests, with similar passions. You already have something to bond over right away. There's no like awkward conversation of like, oh, so what do you do in life? No, you're here, you're like at a soup kitchen, you're like painting, you're already doing things together. It's so fucking easy. And then you just get to know each other. And you see if it, if it clicks or not. Don't go in there. Don't go in there like being thirsty. Okay, don't go in there expecting like you deserve attention, like you deserve a relationship. But do go in there to meet people, to connect to other people. Practice your social skills, even if it doesn't work out. At least you're interacting with people. You're not like sitting watching some dumb fuck Twitch streamer give you stupid advice about dating. Jesus Christ, what are you doing with your life? I left my mouse in my schoolroom. Okay, that's what you did. I unironically started using Grindr when I wasn't good with women. Luckily, I'm bi, so it worked. Dude, being bi is a fucking cheat code for this shit. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Though, personally, I have to say, like, I'm bi too. I get super intimidated on the, like, homosexual side of dating apps because I see those, like, super well-maintained, super well-groomed, beautiful men. And I mean, like, look at me. Okay? I know I'm not the worst. But I'm a fucking wreck, okay? My room's always a mess. My hair is always a mess, even though it looks good. I like how I dress, but sure shit ain't like high fashion. And I see those like super attractive men, super well groomed, and I'm like, holy shit, gay people are out of my league. I can't. How do you deal with that, Couchman? Yeah, I'm going to do a volunteer meme after a few weeks of dating app hell. Yeah, join clubs. Like, it doesn't have to be volunteering. Like, it could be a hobby thing. Anything that expands your social circle. You would get destroyed by those men. They would pick you apart. I know. That's why I'm like, I'm not even going to try this. They're way out of my league. That's the reality. You just gotta get some bracelets and rings. No, but like I like you can tell sometimes when you see a profile picture, you can tell right away that those guys, like, you walk into their home and they're like pathologically OCD, for example. Their whole house is like sterile, squeaky clean, and you can like eat food off the fucking floor, which, hey, maybe that's their kink too, but you know what I mean. And like that's not my case. I'm not the worst, but I'm definitely not the best when it comes to that shit. I'm a fucking like gamer weirdo guy. I like fucking empty juice bottles on my desk. I'm not that guy. I'm similar to you, and I know some guys like our body types. Okay. Yeah, hey, right now I'm in a relationship, so and it's a monogamous relationship, so I'm not really looking for that anyways. But yeah, and next time I'm single, I do want to explore like my homosexual side more, if I get the chance to do so. Rather, it's something I've done very little. A fellow piss bottle user, a man of culture, dude. I ironically did use piss bottles at some point in my life. Actually, I really did. So I grew up in a Buddhist family, and at some point at my parents were hosting this like Buddhist Zen master teacher guy who's like really important in the school, like, sect, whatever that they were in, and they told me, hey, like, really don't make noise at night. We need to, you know, be good hosts. And I took it so much to heart that when I wanted to pee in the night, I like didn't want to. I like was thinking, oh, I shouldn't flush. And since I can't flush, like, and I also don't want to like leave pee in the toilet bowl if I don't flush. So I actually was peeing in bottles for like 2 weeks while this guy was here, because I felt like too self-conscious to like, yeah, to go to the bathroom. Oh, and then I did it again when I had this horrible living situation. I was living in this like slumlords, in this like really shitty place, and the toilet's plumbing was broken. So when you'd flush the toilet, all the water you flushed would like seep through the toilet and leak out through the whole bathroom. So that's more justified. I was peeing in bottles back then because, I mean, otherwise I might as well just like pee on my bathroom floor. Well, that means you're normal, kind of hard to date with OCD. Yeah. I wouldn't want to date someone with like actual OCD. Would you and girlfriend be in a throuple? That's hard, right? Hey, thanks for the follow, Alphin Pog form. Pog. That's hard, right? You need to find someone where where like the attraction goes all like in all different combinations. That being said, I would be okay with it. She doesn't really feel the need for any of those things. At least when we've discussed those kinds of things. I think it would be cool. I like. It's not something I've ever experienced, but I think like a lot of people, I fantasize about threesomes and more sums, and because I don't have that like hyper monogamous mindset. I would actually really love to experiment those things at some point in my life, for sure. I've seen Zimus's flat. I know his place is literally sterile. I used piss bottles in college because of social anxiety. So silly. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what we were talking about. Well, I was talking about too, like social anxiety. I pee in bottle to avoid walking to the bathroom at night. Feels okay, man. The thing is, though, fuck. Like, don't do it. Don't pee in bottles unless your toilet's broken. Then it's justified. Don't pee in bottles, please. I peed in the sink in my mom's basement when I was 24, and the basement still smells like urine. Oh no. Okay, dude, your basement sink, you literally just need to dump some like caustic product down it and kill those like urine bacteria inside it. That's all that needs to happen. Also, I got fucking derailed. Let's go back to the. I really shouldn't have brought that up, huh? Yeah. Yeah, I gotta watch out with me, okay? It's really, really easy to get me sidetracked on pee bottles. It's my passion.
Surprisingly, most volunteer positions are filled by women, especially nice, forward-thinking, caring women. Number 2, meet women at co-ed sports. You have a mutual hobby, it's an easy next date, and also you have kind of like a friendship way to like build rapport.
That's what I've been saying. Hobbies. Absolutely. Yeah, this is a good advice. I've seen people complain about Not So Erudites, like the show she does with Destiny and Dan about like dating advice. Like I've seen posts on Reddit where people are like, Erudite's married, Destiny's married, and he's got his like Coomer lifestyle. Their advice doesn't apply to me because I'm here, I'm lonely, I'm struggling with this shit. They don't even know they don't know my experience. They don't know how to fix me or how to fix my experience and all that shit. But everything I've seen from Erudite is super fucking reasonable and makes a lot of sense. Like, probably doesn't fit someone who's a really down bad, like down an incel rabbit hole, but for any like lonely, somewhat normie-ish person, this is perfect advice. Okay, what are we talking about before the piss bottles? Oh yeah, like online dating, stuff like that. Yeah, in general, I would say we need to move away from online dating. There's a huge conflict of interest, and this is like the thing I keeps pissing me off with online dating. I used to stan OkCupid. OkCupid used to be such a fucking good site. You could filter people by like actual important criteria. Who gives a shit that you like the same music or that you like the same TV show? I'm sorry, that shit doesn't fucking matter. You could filter people by like, are they DTF? Are they monogamous, poly? Are they this, that? Like actual relationship criteria. And then you could just scroll through them, check the profiles, see what clicks, who has got good photos, message them, and see what happens. It was super good. Now, the problem is they were offering that for free, and they got bought by Match, and Match are the people who run Tinder. They Tinderified OkCupid, and now it's a shit show. I mean, you can still meet people on there, but it's a million times worse. And so the reason I'm saying this is there is a fundamental conflict of interest with dating apps. They make less money if they're good apps. If you find the love of your life, or not even the love, if you find relationships, you're spending less time on the app. What they want you to be, like the ideal dating app user is someone who is permanently unhappy in their relationship and constantly looking for something else. They have an incentive to make you unhappy. They have an incentive to keep you having a fear of missing out, to keep you swiping. They have no incentive to help you find happiness. Quite the contrary. Gotta do that for yourself. Which, I mean, it is what it is. Oh yeah, let's just have more dating advice. I want to see more. Alright, this is with Destiny. I would have like switched to YouTube only to watch that. Which I could do. I could do that. Well, no, I would lose like the AFK Chud viewers viewbotting me, because that's fucking cool. Oh wait, narcissism fake. Okay, I don't care. I'm just diving through erudite videos. That's what I'm doing. Diving through not so erudite videos. Put a marker, boom.
If you listen to these people who talk about narcissists have damn superpowers, okay? These people are so beefed up. They're master manipulators, master sex habits.
Oh shit, I know what she's talking about. You see, okay, shit, I know what she's talking about. You see this like this like TikTok feed underneath. Okay, she's clearly reacting to this like narcissist talk on TikTok. Actually, fuck it. Let's like get that experience ourselves. Let's go on to TikTok. And like search narcissism. We're gonna get like the same experience.
You think you know narcissists? These are the 8 subtle signs of covert narcissism.
Covert
that
narcissism.
You probably didn't even notice.
It's like special ops narcissism. Fucking SEAL Team 6 narcissism.
Number 1, putting themselves down. Yeah, that's right. The narcissist doesn't just build themselves up in order to feel better than other people. They will also put themselves down in a very piteous victim mentality so that you feel...
Okay, this is actually something... Shit, she's actually pointing out something that's totally true. People who are self-centered... we always think of someone who's self-centered as someone who is putting themselves up, like thinking they're a god amongst men and all that shit. That's not true. Depression is extremely self-centered. Putting yourself down, hating yourself is extremely self-centered. You're still, whether good or bad, you're still making yourself the center of your entire existence, the center of everything you're thinking about, of your mental state. And that is a very, very negative thing to do. I actually kind of agree with her there.
Feel bad for them and will then be easily controlled by them emotionally. Number 2, emotionally vacant. That's right, the covert narcissist doesn't like to deal with emotions. They like to keep things surface deep. However, they are experts at masking and playing off.
Okay, now she's okay. Now this isn't like a narcissistic trait. This is a fucking like male trait. This actually pisses me off a bit. We're fucking conditioned from our youngest age to repress our emotions in like unhealthy manners. And man, yeah, it's bad. Okay, thank you, lady. We know it's bad. Or maybe someone out there has to hear it. It doesn't mean you're like a manipulative evil person. It means you're a fucked up person, and like most of us are fucked up. What do you want me to say? Fuck. Oh yeah, one thing, what are emotions? Good question. No, one thing I would like to say though, like repressing your emotions gets a lot of a bad rap, but I actually want to defend it too. Fuck that, actually. You know what? If you're in a war zone, if you're in fucking Ukraine right now, fighting, and every day there's like shrapnel flying around you, and you need to actually murder people to defend yourself and to defend your friends who are fighting next to you, you know what? You better fucking repress those emotions. It's a survival tool. It's not a bad thing. It's a necessary part of our psychology that can help us go through very, very traumatic experiences. It's actually a very, very important part of ourselves. And it's not something to shun. Is it bad in like 90 to 99% of situations? Sure. But it's not inherently bad. It's a tool. Repressing your emotions is a tool. It can be used well. It can be used badly. but it's not inherently bad. I like fuck this like empathy pill bullshit. Empathy is a tool as well, and there's such a thing as too much empathy. Okay, if I'm bleeding out and yelling out in pain at the hospital, and the surgeon needs to fix me and save my life, and he has like 15 minutes before I bleed out, I don't want him to feel pain. I don't want him to empathize with me. I want him to be cold as fuck, to look at my body as a piece of meat that he has to plug up. Because if he starts wasting time in empathy, if his emotions are like fucking up his skills, I might die. I don't care that he likes me. I don't care that he cares for me. I just want him to fucking fix my body. Some people in deep depression or under severe trauma just don't feel not to go nuts. Absolutely. When I've struggled a lot with depression as a young adult. Oh, by the way, thank you for the follow, Nukoviak. I appreciate it a lot. I've struggled a lot with depression as a young adult for like an extended period of time. And when one of the things that really helped me finally start to get out of it was realizing that I wasn't even aware of what I wanted in life. I was so numb to everything that I was numb to my own feelings entirely. It was a very painful process to get back in touch with my feelings, to get back in touch with what I actually wanted from life. And yeah, I had to go through it. It's hard, but yeah, like I agree with you. The depression makes you tend to go numb when you're depressed. Absolutely. I have a friend with too much empathy and fucks his days up sometimes. Yeah, that's a lot of people have that. There is such a thing as too much empathy. There is such a thing as not enough emotional repression. It just depends on the situations. That's all I'm saying.
Wrong intentions. Number 3, changing plans unexpectedly. Oh yeah, a covert narcissist will cancel things out of the blue if they know it upsets you, disappoints you, and allows them to be in control of the situation.
Oh, fuck off. Okay. Lady. Some of us just have dogshit organizational skills, okay? I don't cancel plans because I want to manipulate you. I cancel plans because I'm terrible at fucking planning. I cancel plans because I fucking forgot to put it in the calendar, like dumb shit like that, which I've been trying to get better at. My girlfriend knows all about this, okay? Like, seriously, at this point, I'm watching this TikTok, and this lady is basically saying that I'm a covert narcissist, which I'm not covert. I'm streaming on Twitch. Of course I'm a narcissist. Everyone who sits in front of a camera with a mic talking to people for like 5 hours thinks that what they have to say is that much more interesting than all the other dumb fuckers doing that. Narcissism is the rejection of the other, which inevitably leads to regression into the imaginary. Simple reality. Maybe like on a fundamental philosophical level, that might make sense. Sure, I don't know if that's, but I would like that seems like more of a philosophical, abstract mechanism you're describing than like actual psychological mechanism. I don't know. I need to think about it. Yeah, regressing into the imaginary is fucked up.
Number 4, acting innocent. That's right, narcissists cannot take accountability for anything they get wrong, so they always shift blame. For the covert narcissist, it's always about playing dumb and gaslighting the people around them. Number 5,
Oh man. Oh man. Like, yeah, okay. Sure, like gaslighting is toxic. Whoop-de-fucking-do. You're not teaching us something new there. But sure, I guess. Ah, fuck.
Obvious. Oh yeah, there's no one more jealous than the narcissist, and the covert narcissist will display this by complaining about everybody and running down everyone else that they just don't think are as good as them. That's
just like a negative person. That's just like, okay. I've had friends like that. They push you down. Your entire friendship is like either complaining about other people and backstabbing them, or sometimes even they just do it to your face and they put you down too. Those aren't friends. Those are like dickwads, and you need to get them out of your life. Or like push back. I now would just push back. If someone starts shit with me, even if they're a close friend, I'll be like, dude, look at what you're actually saying. I'm not gonna like fight them over it. I'm just gonna be like, you see this bullshit? You see this bullshit you're like presenting? look at it. This is what you're actually doing. And a lot of people, if you make them realize that they're talking mad shit, that they're doing something a bit fucked up, if they're reasonable people, like that's the litmus test. If they're reasonable people, you present it to them like that, and they'll be like, oh, that's what I was doing. Okay, sorry. And they'll back off. And they'll try to do better. They'll make the mistakes again, but they'll try to do better. And if they don't pass the litmus test, then I guess like don't be vulnerable to those people. Don't be vulnerable to someone who's going to use your weaknesses against you. Is my advice there. Those people are tiring. Absolutely, they're like emotional vampires, and they're like really shitty friends. Like wait, sorry, going back full screen. You know those people who talk mad shit about all your other friends in common when you're with them. They're talking mad shit about you when you aren't there. That's what you know. I actually have that, dude. I have a friend who he used to be my best friend, but at some point I realized he I realized that he was like every single time we would see each other, he was talking shit about everyone we knew in common, and I was like, damn. What do you say about me behind my back? And then like last year we had a huge fallout, and I'm not going to go into details because like kind of too personal and too recent to share on stream. But anyways, huge fallout. And 5-6 months later, I learned that he's like telling people that we know in common. He's like telling them some weird story that claiming I sexually abused his like ex, which, I mean, I don't need to elaborate to like explain how fucked up that is to spread those kinds of stories about someone. So yeah, don't trust those people.
6. Passive-aggressive behavior. Covert narcissists never come out and tell you what's what. Instead, they will start rumors behind your back and slowly erode your self-esteem with snide remarks or even the silent treatment and withdrawal of affection.
That's something I had to actually work on. In my family, we tend to like cover up stuff a lot with humor and like play into passive aggressiveness under the guise of humor. I need to like work on that. I need to do less of that, honestly, in my life. And I've been doing that. I've been working on it personally. It's kind of toxic, honestly. Passive aggressiveness is toxic. It's insane what some people will make up to make you look bad. Yeah. And the worst thing is, I think he actually believes what he's saying. Because like basically what happened, I guess I can share the specifics. What happened is 2 weeks before he got with that girl, we almost hooked up. So I went to that girl's birthday because we had a friend in common, and we spent the evening flirting. Basically, brought her back home. We slept in the same bed, but we didn't have sex. So we like kissed, and non-verbally, I was trying to like sexually escalate the situation. Wait, why am I in Discord? Whoops. I was physically escalating the situation. So like, caressing her, touching her, then like my hands go under the shirt, stuff like that. And what happened is she pushed my hands away. I think I tried maybe like 1 or 2 different approaches, and then we just slept next to each other. And I took the no for a no. Probably shouldn't have insisted more. Like, the first time she pushed my hands away, I should have verbalized like, oh, do you not want this to go further? I should have verbalized. And do you not want this to go further? Like, what are the boundaries you see? Not this cold, but like, what are the boundaries you see for this encounter? And then obviously respect those boundaries. That would have been the better approach for sure. But I didn't sexually assault her. I like tried to fondle her, and she made me understand that was not okay. So I stopped. And then 2 weeks later, she was dating that ex-friend. And we had a fine relationship. We would see each other. I would get invited over to their house. I wasn't made aware that she had perceived me to have assaulted her. So I actually genuinely believe that she told this story to, my friend. And my friend interpreted it as, me being this like horrible rapey person. But I never got the vibe from her that she thought I was like a horrible rapey person. So I really don't know where that. I think it's like in his head, basically. I'll let you do your own judgment. Leave it to your appreciation.
7. Subtle smugness. Subtle displays of, I knew that. I'm better than them. I'm better than everybody. It's not like the grandiose narcissist where they walk into a room and suck all the air out of it. It's a lot more subtle than that. And last but not least,
I mean, you were already kissing at that point, so it's not an issue. If you had fondled her after she refused to kiss, then that's an issue. Yeah. Well, yes and no. Like, look. Clearly, I tried to push boundaries. That's a reality. And like I said, I could have handled it better. I absolutely could have. If it happened now, I would do things a little bit differently, and it would be better. But that is also the reality of a lot of relationships, especially early on. And it's like this is the first time you're sleeping together. It's the first night we're sleeping. Like we like it literally was within the span of a night. A lot of that shit happens non-verbally, and yeah, I just gotta respect the non-verbal cues and stuff. But yeah, if I had tried to like fondle her, and she didn't even want to kiss, then that obviously is kissing is like the first intimacy level, and if you're trying to skip a level and go ahead, then that is weird for sure. I get what you're saying.
Number 8. Lacking.
Okay, I don't get what she's saying about smugness. Getting back to this video, like who walks into the situation and is like insufferably smug? Teach me how to be smug. Lacking in empathy. Oh yeah, there we go, back to the empathy shit. Obviously, if you have no empathy, that's fucked up. There's like a balance to be found there, but god damn it.
And empathy. That's right. All
Empathy is not inherently a positive trait, nor is it inherently a negative trait. Fuck.
Narcissists have a distinct empathy deficit. They don't feel bad for you, they don't feel compassion for you, and they never relate to your situation. It's all about them and their suffering. Want to learn more about every type of narcissist?
No, thank you. Not following. Oh, this is okay. So this is the lady. Okay, this is the lady Erudite was listening to.
This is what a narcissistic relationship looks like. First of all, you're going to be told that you're their soulmate, that you're the love of their life, you're the person that they've been waiting for.
Like, okay, why are we calling it narcissism? This is literally like descriptions of just toxic relationships. Like what she's describing now is love bombing. That's not inherently narcissistic. That's toxic.
And finally, they can live happily ever after. But that happily ever after starts to shift
manipulation
when you
101.
find yourself giving everything and receiving nothing in return. You give more emotionally, mentally, even financially. And you find that you have nothing left. You're drained. Drained to the point where you're now getting blamed for everything that you've given. For
Emotional music. I'm sorry. I'm sure she's been through some tough shit, and I don't want to shit on that. Like, it is super. This is like a horrible situation to be in.
everything that you've done for them. And you start to wonder who you are as a person. That's what a narcissistic relationship is going to do for you.
Yeah, I just don't see what's the difference. Narcissists start with love bombing, sure, but I just don't see the difference between what she's describing and like any toxic relationship. So, like, I feel like describing a relationship as abusive or describing a partner as a narcissist, at this point in common parlance, is literally the same thing. Though those are the same people. It's the same persons. Like, I don't understand what is supposed to be specific to a narcissist or to being in a relationship with a narcissist. Like, it's kind of lost its psychological meaning when in like some of those videos. There was this like movement in there was this movement in France of like Oh yeah, she's the narcissism. Yeah, this is the lady, the narcissism expert. There was this movement in France of suddenly every single like newspaper, every single women's magazine was talking about pervers narcissique, narcissistic pervert. And like everyone who's ever been in a toxic relationship was now walking around calling their ex a pervert narcissist. And I feel like so many, I feel like the certain nuances of relationships just get lost if that's the way you're going. If you're just labeling everything under this one single label, one word that like is supposed to have a psychological meaning, but kind of loses its meaning if it's just like everyone. All right, let's see what Erudite says. I don't know.
Controllers, they destroy the destroyer of the world. They're probably responsible for global climate change. Personally, just them. All
Okay, yeah. Okay, she's exaggerating, but this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, like narcissists are responsible for every bad thing ever.
global climate change is just them, and also they can probably melt helium. Sure, melt helium with their eyes. Whatever that superpower it would do. I masturbate or so. The most masterful. Do you want to know a really scary fact about narcissism personality disorder? I don't know if I wanted. I'm just going to black pill people on my field. Okay. The research behind narcissism personality disorder almost doesn't exist. Almost all of the research on it is just self-referencing itself. So somebody came up with the term narcissist as basically like a theoretical idea. They're like, I think this might be happening. And then another person cited this as narcissists are this, and they are happening. And then rest of the history of narcissism research has just mostly been self-referencing.
Wait, no. Is there like sources on this? There's no way this is true. Is this true? No fucking way. Sources on narcissism, or like, okay, like let's like Google history of narcissism disorder. Oh yeah, that's like a shit ton of reading to do. Oh, it started with Freud, basically, when we were talking about psychology. Right? Oh no, Havelock Ellis, actually. Havelock Ellis linked Ovid's myth to the condition of autoeroticism, narcissistic libido, in his 3 essays on the theory of sexuality. Okay. And then you got Freud, at the same time, published his pivotal essay on narcissism, an introduction. Which, like, goes back to what I was saying earlier. Freudian stuff isn't very, you know, scientific method and all that shit. It's very, very arbitrary in a certain sense. Freud discovered that hard girls are mean. Freud was the original incel. Yeah, this is like shit I should read off stream. There's no way I'm going through this on stream. There's like 1,000,000 pages. Like, have you read Freud? A little bit, yeah. I had to read Freud a bit in high school for philosophy class. And my brother studied psychology, and he had like a couple Freud books at home. I didn't read them entirely, but I like went through one of them. I don't remember which one. Just like reading a couple random pages, shit like that. Oh wait. The narcissistic patients present an unusual degree of self-reference in their interactions with other people. But then if narcissism is self-reference, and the studies on narcissism are self-referring the way Erudite says they are, then that actually makes a lot of sense. Hey, wasn't Freud sort of making things up as he went? Yeah, pretty much. Which is normal. He was a pioneer, right? When you're creating a new field of study, it's not like there's a methodology already there that you can use. You need to come up with the methodology. You need to come up with ideas that are probably going to be wrong and that other people are going to debunk But by debunking them, they expand the field, and they expand the knowledge, and they expand our understanding. So like, nothing. I'm not saying this to, like, shit on Freud or disrespect his work. It's just the nature of being the pioneer. He's quite honest about his uncertainties. That's good. Anyways, what I want to say, erudite, yes, but if the work on narcissism is self-referring, then maybe that's because narcissism is self-referential. Maybe it's a meta statement about narcissism. This is so big-brained.
To prove that narcissist personality disorder exists, but there's been almost no factor analysis, which is typically how we figure out symptomologies associated with different constructs. There's been very little qualitative research or quantitative research done. There's just a lot of theoretical speculation and like pattern finding done by psychologists to tell you what narcissists are. I don't actually know if it is even a personality disorder in and of itself. I think it might just be like a branch of like antisocial personality disorder, if it's anything. Research done.
Okay.
There's just a lot of theoretical speculation and like pattern finding done by psychologists. There exists, but there's been almost no factor analysis, which is typically how
Factor analysis. Psychology. Multivariate statistical technique for data reduction. It has many applications in psychology. In this technique, several variables are reduced to a few latent variables for explaining group characteristics. Factor analysis technique is used for both explorative and confirmative studies. Okay, so it's just a statistical method, but it's important. But that is only necessary if you are doing a quantitative study, right? Quantitative study narcissism, right? Let's Google that real quick. So we got narcissism and childhood recollections. The development of narcissism among lawyers and farmers. Okay, based. Fucking lawyers, man. God, I hate her so much. Wait, why? I love people fascinated with Freud who will go to some impressive lengths to prove to you you want to fuck your parents. Yeah. Luckily, I haven't had to deal with that. Narcissism has been identified as a threat to society and the individual. That is true. Individuals with high levels of narcissism struggle to maintain jobs, stable relationships, and healthy life perspectives. Without knowledge about the origins, we may only be treating the symptoms and not the factors that perpetuate. Okay, so this is a study on like the origins and not the existence of it itself. Yeah, I guess the studies we're going to look at presuppose its existence already. Like this one is the same, right? Different psychotherapeutic theories provide contradictory results of adult narcissism as the product of either parental coldness or excessive parental admiration during childhood. Yet none of these theories has been tested systematically in a non-clinical sample. Once again, testing origins, but already presupposing that it's something. Both forms of narcissism were predicted in by both recollections of parental coldness and recollections of excessive parental admiration. Moreover, a suppression relationship was detected between these predictors. The effects of each were stronger when modeled together than separately. These effects were found after controlling for working models of attachment. Covert narcissism was predicted also by attachment anxiety. This combination of childhood experiences may help explain the paradoxical combination of grandiosity and fragility in adult narcissism. I mean, that makes sense.
How we figure out symptomologies associated with different personality disorder in and of itself. I think it might just be like a branch of like antisocial personality disorder, if it's anything. Narcissism research is self-obsessed. Yes. Actually, though, I know it's really bad. It's really embarrassing. Just to be clear, most diagnoses aren't like this. I've looked into a lot of diagnoses. This one's just really weird. But the DSM-5 in general is not really well respected in how it categorizes or like presents personality disorders. So, yeah. But narcissism and like this obsession with it.
I wish there was sources for this fucking video. Okay, like, I would need to do so much research to figure out like every single one of those sentences. This is fucking rough.
Is just like they try to act like it's this hard, cold science, and it's mostly a self-referential field with very little data on it. Psychopathy versus antisocial personality disorder, they're the same thing. The only difference is APA will not recognize a diagnosis if it only has one measure to determine if it exists. So they will not consider psychopathy its own separate diagnosis. So if you are high in antisocial, that is basically the same as being what we would call a psychopath. There's actually no label for psychopath diagnostically. So it's just people high in antisocial PD just are psychopaths, typically. Like if you score over 35 out of 40 on the PCLR, you're typically psychopathic. But how will we call our exes narcissists now? Well, maybe we're all little narcissists, okay? I know I am. I'm a
Yeah, no shit. Everyone has like the fundamental traits of disorders in their in their in who they are. All right, let's do the psychopathy test. Because she proclaims her epistemological certainty all day while never reflecting skeptically on her own methods. Never mind that empirical psychology is in a replication crisis since it was born. Fair enough. Okay, I want to assess myself. I have a habit of blaming others for my own problems and generally do not accept responsibility for my own actions. I think that doesn't apply. I tend to try to blame myself for everything, which might be its own form of narcissism, but definitely not psychopathy. I have broken many different types of laws. That is, my lawbreaking has not been restricted to any single domain, such as sexual, financial, or similar. Okay, I've taken drugs, so that breaks laws. I've broken into places, but not to steal, more like urban exploration, so that's another set of laws broken. I'll say applies partially. I do have my limits, so I'll go with applies partially. I have poor behavioral controls and find it hard to keep my impulses in check. I'll say applies partially as well. I am characterized by shallow emotional responses. No. I have a history of exhibiting cruelty to others. No. I have often tricked, conned, and or manipulated people. I definitely have antisocial and psyche is just being a fucking dickhead. Yeah, pretty much. I have definitely lied a lot to people in the past. This is something like I've wanted to work on for a while. I started developing this habit of lying in high school, basically, or not in middle school. In middle school, I stopped doing my homework, and my survival technique was lying. I would lie to every single professor. I would lie to my parents to get like sick days, so I wouldn't have to turn in my papers. I was just lying constantly, and that became like a really bad habit. So I'm gonna say applies very well on this one. I have to grant that. I have at some point in my life been given a mild reprimand or warning by the authorities on the condition that I did not repeat my offense, yet nevertheless ended up repeating the offense anyway. I would say yes. I got arrested for the urban exploration stuff. I definitely got arrested a couple times, so, or like twice. Yeah, I got arrested twice. And, well, the second night I wasn't arrested, but the cops let us go. But I was arrested once and still did it again. I lack realistic long-term goals. That is, I'm either drifting through life or chasing grandiose schemes that fail to pan out. Oh shit, that is way too close to home. Yeah, I'll say yes on that one. I'm callous or lack empathy. No. Well, it's not that I lack empathy. It's that I've developed a way of like blocking empathy as a self-defense mechanism. And when I don't do it, I have plenty of empathy. But when I do it, then I could be callous. It could actually be. I'll go applies partially. I have an excessive need for stimulation and I'm prone to boredom. Yeah. Yeah, the Sigma switch, exactly. Let's go with a yes. I have an easy or unconstrained social style. What does that mean? What does an uneasy social style mean? Unconstrained social style. I have no fucking clue. I don't know what I should answer to this, genuinely. Like I don't understand the question. What is unconstrained social style? Social style is the behavior okay. The social style model, blah blah. Wait. there was like patterns of communication that characterize communication behavior based on 2 dimensions, assertiveness and responsiveness. Social style is the behavior that one exhibits when interacting with others. Being aware of your own social style helps a person develop relationships, particularly at work. The fuck? Wait, so what is an unconstrained one? What is an unconstrained social style? This doesn't actually fucking answer it. Help. Oh no. Okay, I'm giving up. I don't know. I'm a pathological liar. Well, I did just talk about you do not concern yourself with norms. I'll say it applies partially. I usually do concern myself with norms a lot, but I've definitely like freed myself from certain social norms over time. So I'll go with I'm fine with applies partially. I'm a pathological liar. So I just talked about it. It's something I'm working on, like being more honest with myself and with other people. But I don't know if like I feel like pathological liar is a very, very specific thing. But let's be like negative on ourselves. Let's say yes. I generally evade responsibility and do not answer to anyone in my life. Right now I don't have anyone to I answered. No, that's not even true. No, applies part. I guess I struggle with responsibility a little bit. Let's go with partially. I have had many serious romantic relationships that have fallen apart after a short time. I do struggle with maintaining having relationships for a longer term. I will say yes. Though I guess the relationship I'm in right now is probably the longest one I've been in. I have a grandiose sense of self-worth. No, I'm the most humble person you've ever met. I have a history of promiscuous sexual behavior. Sure. I display a lack of remorse or guilt. No. I live like a parasite on others. For example, by borrowing money I'll never pay back, cynically exploiting others for favors. No. I have a history of juvenile delinquency and or crime. I did talk about breaking laws earlier. Let's go partially. I'm overly impulsive. Let's go with partially. Psychopathic lifestyle, 83%. Yes. The Sigma grindset lifestyle. Okay. I'll pull a Mr. Girl on this, and I'll say that when the population average is like this fucking low, it's not that people don't have those traits. It's that people are fucking dishonest about who they actually are. Genuinely, no. I don't believe that people can't, like, considering the questions we just answered. Don't give your addresses. No, like seriously, considering the questions we just answered here on this test, I don't think. I don't think you know, like the line stuff. Everyone has lied from time to time. Are you gonna answer I've never lied to the test? Seriously? Like I get that I'd be higher than the average, but there's like, what is this? This is 43.5%. Okay, so like the people's average is 10%. I guess it's the lifestyle also really pushing things up here, like the sexual promiscuity and like those are things that probably most people would answer no to. Anyways, I'm sorry, I'm getting wholly fucking sidetracked.
Or something. The research is just Twitch chat, just quoting.
Jesus Christ. Okay,
the research is basically what most.
If you're making a talking video, don't put background music in. I can't. I can't listen to it at 1.5 times speed. The music is like a horrible experience at that point. Please help.
Journalists do, where most journalism these days, it seems, not like good investigative journalism, blah 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 blah, disclaimers, obviously not all, but a lot of journalism.
Yeah, the only good journalism is journalism that agrees with me. Got him.
Will just claim a fact that happened, and then their source of the fact will be another paper written by a different journalist, and their source will just be another paper written by a different journalist, and it'll all just loop back to like one person being like, theoretically this could happen, and then somebody's like, it did, and also my source is this other paper speculating about something. Yep, narcissism.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. So that's really true. Some papers do that. It's a problem in journalism.
Anything that you read about narcissism and narcissistic exes is almost exclusively talking just mostly about abuse. Just abuse. And there isn't good evidence, for example, in my mind, that like somebody who's highly abusive is just like has a personality disorder and can never change. But if you're their victim, they're not going to change because and for you. You should still leave the relationship. If calling them a narcissist makes you feel better, you know, everyone's got their journey. So the research, what are we talking about? I thought.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I was saying, honestly. That's pretty much what I was saying when we're like looking at the TikToks and stuff about narcissism. That doesn't, like, at the end of the day, what you're describing is like abusive behavior in a relationship. The like personality disorder behind it is kind of a whole other discussion.
If you wrote something in a study, it was true. So here's the thing, right? A lot of people don't realize this, that a lot of research is what's called
Fuck. The Coop is in her chat. He never came back to my chat. What a traitor.
Theoretical speculation. So theoretical speculation is basically a bunch of experts like looking at different methodology and pattern and speculating about what it could possibly mean. And this is where a lot of theoretical models come out of. So it's valuable work. I'm not saying it's not. So narcissism is essentially a theoretical model of a personality disorder. The issue is, when you get a theoretical model, you're supposed to test it because it makes prescriptions and claims about the world that are testable. It's falsifiable. So you're supposed to test theoretical models, and then when the data gets back, you update the theoretical model to match what the data is showing you. That's typically how science kind of works. It's kind of this rotation. So theoretical speculation is valuable, but you don't claim it as a fact. It's a model to understand the world, and if data supports it, based. And sociology...
That's like fucking basic-ass scientific method, yeah.
Is basically just a whole bunch of people theoretically speculating constantly over and over and then self-referencing themselves and then calling it a theory, even though it's just a lens in which one guy viewed the world. Sociology is fucking...
Which, Peter Kahn, like, you're right as well. Like, she's saying truth, which is that, you know, you want to come outside of the purely theoretical and come into the empirical and be able to actually test your theory. But you're right. There's a replication crisis in psychology and sociology and like most of those like humanities fields. It's definitely a big problem. Crypto community, basically. Got him. Yeah. When are we having that crypto debate with Magic Turtle and company? I'm looking forward to that.
Weird, man. Is gravity a fact? It is a theory, technically. Anything else we want to watch tonight? Gaslighting is now super associated with narcissism. Gaslighting in general is just like, it's like another buzzword where it's just like, what does it mean? Who knows? Probably.
No, fuck off. Gaslighting, no, gaslighting is a very specific thing. I mean, okay, maybe what she's arguing is that people misuse the word gaslighting, which sure, I could see that. But gaslighting is a very, very specific like manipulation tactic. I hope everyone here knows what it is. Basically, it is when someone knows or perceives something that is true, but you then create pressure, whether it's like peer pressure or psychological pressure or like moving things around physically even, to make them to make them doubt themselves, to to the point where they will renounce their true observation and believe and no longer trust themselves to be able to perceive things correctly. And that's why it's a big part of abusive relationships, because once you stop trusting yourself to know what is correct or not, your only point of reference left is the other person who's like going to be able to abuse you even harder. That's gaslighting.
Everything. Has something bad happened to you in your life? It's gaslighting or violence, because we can only have two words at one time to mean evil, bad things. I don't know why. Christians did it by calling everything sin and evil, and now other people are doing it by calling everything fucking gaslighting or violence or whatever else. 7 common phrases gaslighters use. I don't know.
Often use, part 1. These are 7 common phrases that gaslighters often use, part 1. Number 1, I have no idea what you're talking about. They know exactly what you're talking about, and they just want to confuse your memory. Number 2, you're overreacting or you're being too sensitive / emotional. You're not being too sensitive. You're reacting the right way for
Sometimes you are being overly sensitive and you are being too emotional. The thing is it's just shitty to say this, right? Like, even if they
that's what I was gonna say. You can't. You can't, like, in a tense situation in a relationship, telling the other person that they're too emotional is a great way to turn what would have been like a disagreement into a fucking argument. If that's what you want to do, if you want to like yell at each other and not get anything productive, and maybe even like put strain on the relationship, yeah, go ahead, call them emotional. Something everyone should do. Literally everyone. Everyone in this fucking world should learn about nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication helps you navigate those like really tense situations, those really emotional situations, in ways where they don't escalate, in ways where they don't devolve into like, fuck you, you're trying to hurt me, and like all that shit. It's really fucking important. I genuinely think like this shit should be common core. This shit should be taught to kids from like 10 years on, unironically, and all across the world. The world would be a better place if people learned nonviolent communication everywhere. It applies everywhere. It applies to everything. It teaches you how to communicate your needs and your disagreements in ways that don't create like useless tension or violence. Not that violence is inherently bad, but it lets you communicate better. It's just objectively better. Seriously.
Are overreacting. Telling them that they're overreacting isn't going to help, but I'm going to be honest, mental health disorders, one of the key hallmarks of them is that you tend to overreact to things. An anxiety disorder isn't you're reasonably anxious because the world is anxious. That's not an anxiety disorder. That's called fucking reacting normally. An anxiety disorder is literally, it says, and in a situation you have
I have no idea what she's talking about. She's talking about gaslighting.
Proportionate amounts of anxiety.
She's gaslighting us about gaslighting, basically.
People do overreact all the time. It's a hallmark of mental illness that's literally in the diagnostic criteria for most mood disorders. It's a disproportionate emotional response. The issue is when people try to fucking weaponize it against you and be like, because you're overreacting, you're wrong. And it's like, well, that's not really the solution.
Yeah, that's something you see a lot in this like Twitch debatosphere, by the way, too. If you start being the emotional person on like a panel and a discussion, in a lot of people's eyes you've lost. It's something I've seen a lot. I think the best example of that was that Mr. Girl and the Brittany Simon discussion. Both of them, literally the entire discussion, both of them, their only goal is to gain control of the conversation by making the other person emotional. And I don't even know if they realize it on like a conscious level, but they're 100% trying to fucking make the other person emotional so they can feel it, so they can like feel control over the conversation. It's so fucking trippy to like, that convo was so fucking trippy to me.
You're reacting.
situation. Number 3, you're imagining things or that's not what happened at all.
Okay, this one's really tricky. For example, like borderline people will often like, oh man, this is a really common one that I hear. There's another issue.
God, I need a ring light. I keep seeing the ring light reflect in her like glasses. I need a fucking ring light. I wanted to buy one this week and I like had other shit to do. Fuck, I really need one. Yo, thanks for the follow, Rogue Heel. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? We're going through some Erudite content. Went through like her dating advice. Currently watching Is Narcissism Fake video. Right now she's like talking about gaslighting and stuff. We're reacting to her reacting to TikTok videos about gaslighting and narcissism. How are you doing? The win-lose thing is poison, absolutely. You actually listened to Brittany Simon after a few hours of looping logic. My brain wanted to explode. Do a dono goal for ring light. Good. Discovered you with Shed Logic and Rise. Oh, fucking awesome. Hey, welcome. I love that. I'm so glad I'm leeching viewers off of those bigger streamers. Gotta do that cloud farm. Gotta do that cloud chase. And as you can see, hey, I took quite a few items of their advice to heart. Changed up a lot of things with the stream. Hopefully, it's a better stream. Definitely not a more popular stream. My viewership, my viewership went fucking down. But I also had like was like busy for a couple of weeks and streamed a lot less. But honestly, at some point, I have to admit, I feel like changing the name. Long term, I agree with them. That's why I followed their advice on changing the name. Long term, I definitely feel like it's better. But short term, I keep getting people who are like, oh wait, it's you. You were Name Man. They like see me in their follower list and they don't even like who the fuck is this guy? I'm not gonna go watch him. Knew you from your old name, but this new name is way catchier. Yeah, it's better. It's like objectively better. I liked the like Name Man was good. If I had like a strictly European audience, if I had like a fucking German audience, and you know it's perfect. If I was networking with German streamers or like all that shit, but no, I'm trying to do that Anglophone grind. So obviously, good advice there. All right, getting back into this. Yeah, what Erudite is saying, what Erudite is about to say is like, yeah, like borderline personality disorder people will absolutely do that shit to you. They will gaslight you by telling you that things aren't what actually fucking happened, and then you're like fucking doubting yourself. You're like, wait, shit, is that did I like hallucinate it or whatever?
Sometimes they're lying.
Yeah,
a lot of times people with borderline will actually have like very, very faulty memories because of the amount of emotionality that they're experiencing at the time, which is why, for example, like with like a lot of people that I know who have like friends and family who are borderline, they'll often want to record conversations and like play things back to them because they're like, no, this literally happened. The issue is that memories are very faulty. So it's like, this is what people who are manipulative do, but also sometimes two people in an emotional situation will remember the memory very different. Like I remember when Nick and I were like at our worst and we were
she says she remembers after saying that her memory's faulty. Damn, lady, you lost this debate already. What the fuck? But yeah, no, our memories fucking suck. Like I actually had this on Destiny's subreddit. Someone was asking like people like, hey, what happened? Because Destiny was doing his like 9/11 conspiracy deep dive. So someone had made a post like asking, what did you do on what were you doing when the Twin Towers fell? And my memory of 9/11 was in 2001. Was hanging out at my like best buddy of the time apartment, playing Xbox and playing Halo specifically. Like we were doing the co-op campaign. Fucking awesome, great childhood memories. Except that Halo came out 6 months after 9/11, or even like something like 6 months after 9/11. So it's physically impossible. It's physically fucking impossible that I was playing Halo. I probably was at his home because that I think that part of the memory is correct, and we probably were playing Xbox because that's what we did. Like most of the time, I was at his place, but it definitely was not Halo. Memory is a fucking weird thing. I was in 4th grade in gym class, and my dad came pick me up from school. Yeah, my understanding is like anyone who was in the US, like I obviously was in France, you know, time zones and all that. That's why I wasn't at school. People are like I was in the womb grinding my calories. Nice. Building up those squatting. I'm doing squats, building up bulking up. Yeah, it's interesting to read the stories from like people who lived in the U.S. at that time, like as kids. The whole like, you know, school suddenly stopped, and like someone wheeled a TV into class, and you spend the whole morning watching the news and not even like having class and just waiting for your parents to come pick you up. Like suddenly everything stopped. 9/11 truthers are wild. I'm from NYC and I saw both towers fall. It's weird to see a fellow New Yorker like Sneeko believe these conspiracies. Yeah, and I have a tough thing to tell you about like the rest of the world. Here in France, people are fucking so many people who are perfectly reasonable in most regards. So many people are like believe in the 9/11 conspiracy. It's like hard to wrap my head around it. It like the conversations are so fucking painful. I myself, I need to do like a dive on this shit because I have a close friend who I recently had an argument about this with, and it's like so hard to debunk that shit. You need to like address every single point and I forgot the name of that fallacy where like someone who's into conspiracy stuff, it's much easier to like throw ideas out than to debunk the ideas. So like someone can just throw a bunch of claims or a bunch of questions, even they can just be asking questions, and you need to have the perfect answer for every single fucking thing. It's so painful. I fucking hate it. But anyways, yeah, here in France, a lot of people are. I think it's just like anti-American sentiment, where it's like easy, you know. The U.S. lied about this, the U.S. lied about that, they lied about weapons in Iraq and all that shit. So yeah, they probably lied about 9/11 too. I feel like that's where it comes from. I mean, at least it's not Americans. Like who gives a shit what they think? But it's still weird. Makes for weird discussions. Yeah, dude, I worked across the new World Trade Center in 2017. Crazy how people just believe it was an inside job because, well, this one time on this book that came out in the 80s, 90s, there was towers with a cross around them. I don't know that one. I believe I've been online since the 2000s, but really got online in 2020 because of the pandemic, and the internet is wild. Yeah, the internet is wild. Absolutely. Like, what I'm talking about is people IRL. Like, I mean, like, non-terminally online people here in France will be full fucking 9/11 pilled. All right, let's finish the video.
Fighting all the time, we would actually record conversations, and then we'd be like, this is what happened, and this is what happened, and then half the time when we'd listen it back, he'd be like, see, this is proof that this is happening. And I was like, no, this and this and this is proof that this is what's happening, because memory is deeply subjective.
This is like the first one. They're trying to confuse your memory. They're trying to make it seem like, oh no, that didn't even happen. They're trying to just make it seem like, oh, I'm just remembering this.
Jesus Christ, when you're watching videos, turn the music off. Jesus. This is pissing me off.
A lot of people act like this type of behavior is super
or like
intentional.
turn it down.
The problem is that, for example, if somebody's actually like doing this type of stuff and it is kind of mind fucking you, it's almost never intentional. Sometimes it's intentional, and if it's actually intentional, then they're literally gaslighting you. But most of the time it's unintentional, and I think a lot of people who claim gaslighting are just running into like normal people being kind of fucked up and not good at relationships.
Yeah, like that was my whole point earlier, and where I completely agreed with Erudite. A lot of people are just shitty at relationships and shitty at communication. And of course, that doesn't mean you should like stay with someone who's hurting you, or like stay in a bad relationship. Don't do that. But that doesn't mean they're horrible. Like they're like this horrible monster of a person who wants to like destroy and hurt everyone they meet. There is some nuance there. A bad relationship doesn't necessarily imply two bad people. It just implies two people who hurt each other.
This did happen. Tune in for part 2.
Imagine hearing those combos of us fighting. It'd be really underwhelming. Nick and I fighting is, even at our worst, is like pretty calm. It's mostly being like, no, but I'm pretty sure you were implying or saying or doing this. And they're like, no, I was not. And I'm like, yeah, but it seemed that way. And he's like, yeah, but I wasn't. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm pretty sure even if you didn't mean to, you were. Very little yelling. Yeah, our fights were very...
Fuck, that's like me and my girlfriend too. Where, and I like that. I like that we can actually communicate. And we can actually be like, hey, when like the way you said this was pretty hurtful, and I didn't really like that. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's because I felt like this in this way, so it like came out that way. I'm sorry I communicated badly, but I did really feel hurt by what you did. So I know it gets really easy. My wife's anti-terrorism book from 1997 has the Twin Towers and crosshairs. Emergency response to terrorism, self-study. Shit. Written by Osama bin Laden, with the collaboration of the U.S. Department of Justice and the CIA. We got him. We got him in 4K, boys. There's this new documentary called The New Pearl Harbor that Disney watched, and it's hard to believe that people believe in this stuff. Yeah, he spent like 3 nights watching it or something. Is it on YouTube? Is this something I can actually watch with Twitch TOS? I wonder now. What? Oh yeah, New Pearl Harbor. It's probably like unlisted. Yeah, I could see it just being unlisted, honestly. Oh, also Wingdings font with 9/11. Oh yeah, I've seen that meme go all around. Reject all. Wingdings predicted 9/11. Truther's tale. Jewish conspiracy backed text. Blah 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 blah. Okay, there's something like broken with this website. I'm not gonna fix it. Yeah, whatever. This documentary is literally, I don't know what it was. It must have been drones. We didn't even have good drones back in 2001. Like the drones were really shitty back then. MIT press journal separating fact from fiction over drone proliferation. I guess military drones existed, and that's all you need for your conspiracy theory. Because it's the military. We're murdering 3,000 Americans on our own soil because fucking evil mastermind plan. 5D chess. Yeah. Narcissists are getting smarter. Time to protect yourself.
We're coming to a point now where narcissists are becoming way smarter.
They're evolving. They're evolving like the fucking predator.
They're getting smarter by the day, and a lot of it is down to social media channels like mine that are here to educate victims around narcissism. Now, this is a double-edged sword because while I'm educating you guys and helping you to understand what a narcissist is, who they are, what to look out for, how to protect yourselves, narcissists are picking up on the fact that you're getting wise to it. So they're having to up their game to make sure that you continue to be their victim. Now,
oh shit, the music she puts on her videos is fucking tripping me out. A sad beat background music using the piano. What the fuck? Oh shit, Sad Night. I'm sorry, I missed your message in the YouTube chat. When was that? Oh crap. Are you still watching? Oh no, you definitely aren't. Well, you're asking how old Sad Night asked me how old I am in YouTube chat. I am 32. Yeah, whatevs. We're done. I'm sending you off to someone else. That's what we're doing. It's getting late in here. 1 a.m. Yeah. Who are we gonna raid? Oh yeah, let's raid Erudite. Yeah, let's raid Erudite because I was watching her content anyways too.
Flyer.
But who are the people who would get to make a call that someone can never be rehabilitated? Well, I don't think.
All right, good night,
anyone
Teet.
ever can. Like, I think that's the issue with where psychology is at as a field too. With the way our literature is around like treatment.
Let's
and everything,
do it like
I've never
this. All right, thanks for
seen
watching,
anyone
everyone.
have to be rehabilitated.
Shut up. Yeah, shut up, woman. Thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate the raid again. Once again, appreciate the hanging out, all the good discussions, all that shit. And yeah, have fun. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Some degree.